a few minutes late. We were kind of working on some technical difficulties. But I'm Shamir of Shem So Creative, and we got Auntie Carol here, and we're here to talk about our Blazer series. Wait, are you frozen? Oh no, you're not frozen. Okay. Mm. All right. So you want to start us off, Auntie Carol, like talking about what we're gonna be doing, material.
Surely. Um, I think, am I okay or I'm not freezing or anything like that?
I can see you. Can everybody else see Auntie Carol?
No, where's the pattern? Here it is. Okay, now I'm ready.
Are you playing it
Hi,
on another
everybody.
device?
What'd you say?
I said, are you playing it on another device? I hear like a little echo.
No, I'm not
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Well, let's check.
No, you're good. Yeah.
All right, go. All right, so we got 11 people on so far. The numbers are going to go up. So I'm just going to tell you guys what we're going to be doing. All right, so Shamir asked me in her sweet, wonderful voice, Auntie Carol, I need to learn how to make. I want to go in deep. I want to learn everything. All right, so for Shamir's cute little face, sometimes you just can't tell people no. I said, okay. I said, Self, Shamir wants to learn how to do a blazer, and Shamir is always posting and sewing and everything. So I said, okay. So you all know me that I'm not going to come out of retirement just for some BS. So I'm going to need you to participate, and I'm going to need you all to produce. So here's what we're doing. This is Vogue 1927. It's a double-breasted blazer. It has peak lapels and a collar, and it has patch pockets. So, in order for us to do a sew along, I told Shamir, okay, we can do a double breasted blazer because I want one, she wants one. But for those of you that don't want double breasted blazers or don't feel comfortable making double breast, or don't like the style, you can definitely do a single breast. So this is a pattern that I showed somebody yesterday. This is a good pattern. It has a peak lapel, a collar, and it has a single breast. This is not the jacket that you have to use, but if you are going to choose a single breasted jacket, it needs to have a collar, a back of a collar, a peak lapel, because this was what we're going to be learning. And a lot of those have welt pockets with flaps, and we'll be putting in a link to a good welt pocket tutorial if you've never done welt pockets. And then we're going to also cut in a breast pocket, and most women jackets don't have breast pockets, so we're going to cut in either a breast pocket or another pocket down at the bottom. So we're going to learn how to completely tailor a jacket. So if you are new to hand sewing, or you don't want to attempt hand sewing, then this is definitely not the project for you. If you're new to hand sewing and you're willing to attempt it, then you can definitely go and join us. Now, tailoring a jacket is not a hard thing, it's a time consuming thing. So, here's the first thing that I'm going to recommend that everybody get to complete this project. Uh, You're going to need a journal and a regular ink pen. Those are easy to do. You need a journal with some empty pages, and you need an ink pen. And what we're going to be doing with the journal, and this is what's going to keep everybody interested in the project, because this is going to be a self-paced project, but we are going to have Zooms where you can come in and ask questions. If you want to just come in on the Zoom and sew, you want to just come in and listen and learn, you're more than welcome to do that. So I'll be hosting the Zooms. If you're not already a part of the Let's Get Bespoke group that Shamir created on Instagram, go ahead and join that group. Add your name so one of us can add you to the group. And this is where our links for the Zoom classes will be. This is where you can ask questions. If you want to post pictures of your process, you're more than welcome to do it there in that area. Or you probably can't post pictures,
You can
but
post.
just you can post pictures. Okay, and then you can post pictures of your process or your progress. All right. So what I want you to do is you're going to have a journal, and in your journal and your ink pen, what you're going to be journaling is every time you touch this project. Are we going to be doing fitting? Yes, we're going to do a fitting module as well. And so this is something, I don't think I shared this with Shamir, but we're going to do a fitting module as well, because I want you all to complete these blazers like a real tailored piece of clothing, and it's going to take time. Just believe that this project is going to take time. We're not making a blazer in 2 hours. We're not making one in 5 hours. We're not making one in 2 days. This particular project will take anywhere from 35 to 45 hours to complete. And it doesn't matter what pattern you choose or how many pieces. It's everything that we're going to be using to build the jacket or to build the blazer to be a custom tailored blazer. There is going to be some sewing involved, but there is going to be some hand stitching. So we're going to be talking about probably 60-40, maybe 70-30 on 60 and 70 meaning machine sewing, 30-40 meaning hand sewing. I was thinking about it today. I'm gonna see how progress goes, and when it comes to the sleeves, I will determine whether or not we hand stitch our lining in, or if we machine sew our lining in. We may split it in half, uh, just for the sake of you knowing how to use a sewing machine when you're tailoring, because there is a such thing as light tailoring. You'll know how to use the sewing machine and when to use your sewing machine when you're able to cut the bespoke and go into some light tailoring. So whenever you're doing your fitting, and we're fitting, you want to put in your journal fittings. We're going to do fitting series or fitting session or whatever you want to title it as. And we're going to log in the hours that we spend or the time that we spend. First muslin, 30 minutes. Second muslin, 1 hour. You want to keep track of the hours that you do whenever you make yourself a blazer. Now, this is something that I do, and I just like to see where my time is going. What am I spending time on? Am I spending more time on this? Is this something that I need to research further or learn more about? It just tells you a little bit more about your style of sewing and what it is maybe you don't know a lot about. Am I spending too much time on this? Okay, maybe I need to do a little bit more reading and a little bit more research. Okay, so this is the first thing that you're going to need. So today's session is about preparing for the class. Get your pattern, go ahead and cut out the pieces that you're going to be using. And what you need to do is, if you are a general size, let's say for instance, you would normally be a 22, right? So you would cut out the 22 because you know it'll fit your bust, right? Because the main thing to do for a jacket is to get it to fit your bust. Everything else may be too big or may be too small, but if we fit the bust, the rest of the tailoring comes in fitting the rest of the body. This is what tailoring is, creating a garment that is custom fit to your body. So the main thing you want to do is get those boobs in there, get that jacket to close the way it needs to close. Then we know generally what size we need to cut. From that size of paper that we cut out, then we make our muslin. And then from the muslin, we will determine, is the neck too big? Are the shoulders too big or too small? Is the arms too tight? Are they too long? Then we'll know what adjustments to the pattern that we need to make, or if you have to decrease, we'll know where on the muslin to make the decreases, and then you can use the muslin as your pattern. So here's a side note: if you have a dress form that fits you and you use it for regular fitting, that's a good thing. Then you don't have to keep taking your clothes off and on and off and on. You can use your dress form. If you don't have a dress form that fits you and you just have a regular mannequin, the regular mannequin is fine because you're going to need to hang your blazer somewhere when you're not working on it. Okay. But for fitting purposes, if you have a mannequin that is your size, that's a good thing. But if not, don't worry about it. We don't need it. We just need somewhere to hang our blazer. Eve says, so can we use any blazer pattern or jacket? Yes, Eve, you can. It can be a single breast, it can be a double breast. Um, if you want to do welt pockets, it can have welt pockets with or without a flap. That's fine. But the jacket that we're doing has patch pockets, and I'm going to be showing you guys an invisible patch pocket technique to show on and to sew on invisible patch pockets. And make sure that it has a collar and a peak lapel, or separate collar and lapel. Okay, because that's what we're going to be learning as part of what we're going to be learning. Hi, everybody. So,
Hola.
yes, so you have time to grab your pattern. And like I said, we will be hosting some Zoom classes going forward. And then too on YouTube, when we do YouTubes, Shamir, you're going to be saving these recordings?
Yes. And I'll create a
Okay.
playlist.
Yeah, Shamir's going to be saving the recordings, creating a playlist in case you forgot something or you missed something. Maybe you couldn't attend one of the Zooms or one of the YouTube lives. You can always go back and research, and you can always hit me up on my DMs and ask me questions. All right. So we talked about the uh, journal, and we talked about a pen and the pattern. Next, let's talk about some reading and some books. Now, we're not going to be reading this whole book, so stop panicking. We're only going to be referring to small areas of the book. And the main thing out of these books that we are going to be referring to are hand stitches. And we need to know like three different hand stitches in order to get through the project. These are three hand stitches that we're going to be using throughout the whole piece. And believe it or not, we're only going to be using them at a certain time. Okay. The first book, if you have this, is the Vogue Sewing book. Mine is old. This was gifted to me years ago. Um, and if you don't have it, this is one reference. If you want to check it out on half.com or Etsy or whatever, or if you already have it, this is great. So if you have this book, then you don't need any other books. So when I do references, I'll say what I'm talking about is on page 78 in the Vogue Sewing book, or look in the chapter of blah blah blah, because there are revisions and stuff in the new book. Okay. but the chapters are the same. Second book, those of you who've been following me for years and years know that this is my favorite. This is my Bible. This is the reader. Everybody looking at pictures. This is the complete guide to sewing, Reader's Digest. If you have this one, this is the one that I love to death. This is probably my favorite, but I have used this. I used to use this book a lot when Casey was growing up because he was a boy and I had to do different types of alterations for boys. So this is where I got all of my knowledge from my men sewing. This is the one that I use pretty much on a regular basis, regardless of what I'm sewing. It doesn't matter if it's a knit, if it's a suit, if it's pants, or whatever. This is also a great reference to have. Okay. Another good reference if you are a visual learner and you need pictures. This book right here, this tailoring book, you can get this on Amazon. You see, Shamir has it. This is also a great book. It has all of the goodies in here, some step by step pictures. You can follow it, but you picture lookers. I still need you to read what the picture is. When you're tailoring, you need to know why. Because if you don't know why, you're going to be like, why am I doing this? I'm not doing this. If you know why the steps are practice that you need to do or that you need to learn, then you'll go ahead and you'll execute them and you won't have to ask why. The main reason why we do not move forward is because we don't know. Fear is always in the unknown. So I need you all to know why. This book is, I want to say Taunts
Creative.
Express.
This one's Creative Publishing International.
Okay. But
But
if
if you
you
type
just
this
go out,
in, yeah,
if you just put in tailoring, this
it
book
pops
is
right
gonna
up.
pop up.
Yeah.
It's gonna pop up.
And I'll add it to my Amazon store.
I think it's in mine too. Look, get it in the Amazon store. So yes, this is a good book. All right. So does anybody, the tailor of the last book, is that this book? Or this one is the Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest Complete Guide to Sewing. And then there's the Vogue Sewing Book. Okay. Now let's talk about uh, some things. First of all, let me just ask, is there any questions so far?
And I would say why you got a big group here, talk about fabric and why it's important.
I'm definitely going to talk about fabric.
Okay.
Do I have some out? I do. I have some pulled out as well. Um, Now, we're going to definitely
Let me get
talk
my
about
fabric.
fabric, why it's important. All right. So we can actually go into fabric first because it's a prelude into what we're going to need in order to do this uh, jacket. Okay.
And you can talk about
So
patterns too. Okay.
I'll talk about patterns too. Now, that's another thing that we were talking about for the jacket, the sew along. If you have never made a blazer, period, I want you to come to this project with a solid fabric. I don't want you to use um, a plaid. I don't want you to use a print or anything that has to be matched because that's a whole nother ball of wax. If you know how to match plaids and you're comfortable with using prints, if they're large prints usually need to be matched, then by all means go ahead. But if this is your first jacket, I don't want you spending all this time and then you finish with this jacket and you got a half a flower here and a three quarters of a flower here and then a bud on your sleeve because you're not going to like the way that looks. So stay away from prints, stay away from plaids. Another fabric that I don't want you to indulge in is boucle. Boucle is a tweed that is loosely woven, so think Chanel jacket. Okay, that's boucle fabric. That fabric will fall apart, and if you're not skilled and you're not sure how to treat this fabric, it's going to be very frustrating. I don't want this process to be frustrating for you going forward. Okay. Now, the best fabrics to use for a blazer, definitely wool is number one. You can use linen, anything natural. Cotton is way too thin. The best wool for all climates is wool gabardine or wool crepe. Now, wool crepe has different price points, and with the price point, the crepe gets a little bit more expensive. Wool tweed is a good fabric, and it's definitely for a warmer climate because tweed has more fibers that are woven together. So if you live somewhere like Florida, but you're going to be sitting in a room where there's going to be air conditioning, a wool gabardine blazer will be good for you to have. Wool, we're going to be working with, if and even if you are a person that is allergic, we're going to be lining this wool so it will not be on your body. Wool gabardine and wool crepe are not hairy fabrics, they're not itchy fabrics. So when you're working with them, you don't have to worry about getting red, or it's the wool melting, wool coating. Those are the fabrics that usually cause allergic reactions. When you cut them, the hairs are fine and they'll fly, they'll fly up in your nose, that kind of thing. And if you are really allergic to wool, before we line it, wear a mask. If there's any fibers flying around, the mask will stop the fibers from getting in your nose. This is where the problem comes. Okay. Same for corduroy. I swallowed a whole lot of corduroy in my day. So those are definitely what you want to work with. Here is a sample of, I have wool crepe. This is a wool crepe fabric, and I'm going to try and get nice and close so you can actually see. It's just like a regular crepe fabric, like a poly crepe. It has little bumps on it, and if you can feel it, you'll feel the rough texture. Joanne used to carry, they carry the crepe back satin. It's the same kind of pattern, the same kind of texture, same kind of feel. It's just that this is wool. Crepe back satin is made out of polyester. Okay, so I'm trying to get a little closer on this so you can actually see the texture of the fabric. Yeah, that's a good one right there. So it's just kind of knotty. This is a great fabric to use. And then we're going to be learning how to mold this fabric with our irons. That's why they call me Auntie Clapper. All right, hold on. I need to tighten my light. It's like it just, the ring light wants to see you all, and he can't come to this party.
I
Don't
will
you know?
say, while she's fixing her light, when you get into like the crepes, the finer they become, the harder it is to pick up that one little stitch. So if you're a beginner to the hand stitching, because we are past stitching, you can get fabric recommendations, but I would say pick something with a little more texture to hide the picks.
To hide the padding. But then again, let me tell you what about padding. Sometimes you can pad, you can machine pad, and you can definitely see it underneath. When you pad, you're not going to be able to see it because when you pad correctly, your lapels will not flip up at all. So you can, if you do happen to pick up a little bit more, if your thread match is good, and we'll talk about matching thread, it's really going to, you can actually kind of wipe it and the fibers will cover over any threads that are peeking through. So there's ways around it. But you, once you, as you get better and better, you'll learn how to pick up less and less um, fabric when you're padding. All right. Here is a, this is, I think this one is gabardine. Twill. A wool twill is a good fabric that you can use. This one is going to be a little smoother. So if you're a little bit more advanced at sewing, what Shamir was talking about, and you want to use a wool twill, This one is a good fabric. Wool twill is
Pretty.
wool, but it's woven just like twill fabric, and it's got a smooth hand. Okay, there is really no texture. You can just kind of see the weave of the fabric going like warp and weft, which means it's going down and going across. So this is wool twill. So if you're a more experienced sewer and you've done some hand sewing and you know about picking up that one thread, you can make your jacket out of wool twill. Wool gabardine, the way that you would know the difference on gabardine is that it's woven on one side, it's kind of like a chevron-y look or rows, diagonal rows, like a whole bunch of rows of fabric. If you take your finger, you can kind of feel the you take your fingernail, you can kind of feel the weave with your fingernail. Okay, that's wool gabardine. That's a good fabric, like I said, for um it's a good fabric for any kind of climate. And it's also a good fabric for somebody that's newer because the weave threads of the gabardine, they actually stick up off of the fabric. So they're easier to grab when we're doing uh, hand stitching. Okay, so that's why wool gabardine is always. A polyester gab has a huge tendency to fray. After you get all of your pieces cut out, you're going to need to serge every piece. If you do not have a serger, I don't recommend that you use poly gabardine because it's going to fray a lot. You'll get frustrated. The hairs will be very long, they'll get in the way. And I know you don't feel like doing a hand stitch all the way around each piece. So if you want to use a polyester gabardine, you definitely can use poly gabardine, but I would suggest that you serge all the way around, and do know that poly gabardine confirm with the things that we need. Can be done, but it's just going to be a little harder to work with the iron. So I would suggest that you work with wool so you can get used to working with wool and get acclimated of its properties and how well wool and the iron work together. Okay. All right. Shamir, you got anything to input?
Um, no, I think that's good for fabric. Oh,
Okay. All right.
I do have a
Next
question.
up,
If you're using something like a linen, are we still pad stitching the linen and all of that? So it's still going to be a heavier jacket.
yes, yes. If you are using a linen, we are still going to pad stitch it. We're still going to work it out and put all the insides on the inside. It's just not going to be your typical linen jacket or linen garment. It's going to be a linen blazer. It's going to be heavier than what you're used to, but it's still going to have the properties of linen, the light wrinkles. It's still going to be breathable, and you'll still feel good in this jacket. It's just made out of linen. So yeah, we can still use linen. All right. And then with linen, depending on the weight of your linen, if it's an Italian linen or just a regular slub linen you bought off of Fabric Mart for $7, you can still use the linen fabric. It's just that the pad stitching, depending on the thickness of the linen or the type of the linen, will be a little bit more visible on the wrong side. Okay.
I encourage you, if it's in the
Hey, and
budget,
again,
get a higher quality fabric so that you don't do all of this work on like a $7 fabric. So
exactly. If you are worried about price point and how much money we're going to be spending, so now we're going to be spending money on this project if you don't own a lot of things. Uh I sourced a beautiful piece of tweed from a thrift store. It was $6 for 6 yards. They obviously didn't know, and I grabbed that. And when I said, "How much is this?" It's, "Oh, $6." I threw the $6 on the counter and ran out the store. And then she saw the bell ringing and the door swinging when she looked up. So you can source some really nice fabrics if you go to the thrift store. And there's always wool in the thrift store. Always. I do not, I repeat, I do not want you to say, well, this is my first time. I'm just going to use some flannel. Ah, I got some fabric in here that I'm not. Don't do that because that's going to kill your mojo. It's gonna definitely kill your sojo because you're gonna feel like, I ain't doing that. I don't want to wear that anyway. I want you to invest in fabric that what needs do you we're not there, Celebra. So I want to make sure that when you purchase your fabric for this project, it needs to be something that you love. It needs to be something that you need. I need a plain black blazer for my job. Some of the stuff that I've already made, I can't wear. So it's got to be, if it's not something that you love, something that you need or you always wanted. Oh, you know what? I would love to have a nice camel blazer that I could wear. Oh, I'd love to have, a nice gray blazer to go with all of this stuff I got. I even think about because at my job now that I work for a bank, which is corporate, right? So if you're in management, yeah, you have to wear a jacket, but there are some relaxed days when we can wear jackets and jeans. So consider your work environment if you are a person that goes in the office. If you are somebody that's out on the beat, maybe you work at home, but you're out on the beat and you in and out doing your errands and you going in and out of the air conditioner is on 55 and it's cold, you may make a nice linen jacket. So I want to make sure that you spend the money on the fabric or source fabric from the thrift store. Make sure it's wool, good quality, and something that you want to do because I want you to finish this project. The problem with us is if it's not done quick, we get burned out and we don't finish it. So we have to make sure we finish this jacket. All right. Even when you start sourcing for your fabric, log that in your journal. How much time are we spending out shopping? Do we really know exactly what it is that we need? Go to your closet and sit in front of that bitch for an hour if you have to and be like, what do I need? Do I need a red blazer? What am I wanting? What are you gravitating to when you go to the store and look at the ready to wear stuff? Is it navy? Is it white? Is it cream? What is it that you're gravitating to? This is what I want you to make. Okay. Look at your closet and see what.
is she still frozen? She's moving on my screen. That's what they're saying. You're moving for me. Oh, they said you froze and you need to repeat. So we're moving on to the materials list.
Okay, so where did I?
Oh, now you're frozen for me.
How about now? I'm trying to bring it a little bit closer to the door here. Let me go check something. I'll be right back.
Okay. Look good to me. You can never go wrong with a black jacket. So yeah, Auntie Carol's doing black. I'm considering doing this, but it does have a check in it. So that means I would have to pattern match. I don't know if I want to pattern match. So I actually had already started this jacket in this fabric. So I do have to pattern match. Well, I do. There's a seam here. So I have to match this all the way around the jacket. This will be my muslin though.
Okay. So, how am I okay now?
You're good to me. Thumbs up in the chat if Auntie Carol's good for you. And also make sure you like the live.
What I did was we have sometimes KC plugs in a booster there, and we don't need that booster, so it switches me back and forth to that booster network. That's
Yeah.
the bad one. So
Okay.
I just took it out the wall. Okay, looks good now. And then I open the door to let some signal in.
Yeah, you look
Hey,
much clearer
Steps.
too. Yeah.
Okay, good, good. All right, so now here we're going to talk about first off where I probably uh, um, went awry is when I talked about fabrics. Make sure that you can, if you need to source your fabric from the thrift store, Salvation Army is always loaded. If you have one, try Salvation Army. Um, the best way to clean your fabric before you start the project is to take 1 to 2 towels that have gone through the spin cycle on your wash machine. 1 to 2 towels that have gone through the spin cycle on your wash machine. And this depends on how big the hunk of fabric is. 5 yards, 2 towels. 3 yards or less, you just need 1 towel. And what happens is you throw the wool in the dryer, you put the towel in the dryer, and 1 or 2 dryer sheets. The dryer sheets act as a freshener. The wet um, towel provides steam from the heat in the dryer, which will clean the fabric. And it's enough steam that your fabric will be cleaned. If you have a hairier fabric or a hairier wool, make sure you check the lint trap. Clean it out, put it back in, and then you can let it spin for 20 minutes. That's all you need. 20 minutes, your wool will be dry completely. It will only do a little bit of shrinkage, if any at all, but you don't have to worry about it. But that's the way that you want to do to clean your wool. The wools that I just held up, the red and the white one, were like they reeked of mothballs, and I let them sit outside for a couple of days. That helps. But when I put them in the dryer, the smell is gone. So that's how you clean your wool. And it's also how you can clean your jacket going forward. Your jacket should only go in the dry cleaners twice a year if you're using wool, once or twice a year. When you hang wool up, the air will air it out, get out all the smells. If you're a perfume wearer, you just take a damp cloth, wipe under the arms and the arm on the lining. Turn it inside out and just wipe the lining down. And then flip it and hang it, and it's good. It doesn't have to go to the dry cleaner. You don't want to dry clean your wool all the time because it'll eventually, the hems will start to get weakened and they'll start to fade. You don't want that to happen. Okay, now let's talk about what we will be needing to work on this project. Regular polyester thread is what you're going to be using. Okay, and this will be for your project. Okay, it can also be used for your hand sewing. So if you're going to be using the polyester thread for your sewing machine sewing and to fill up your bobbin. You're going to be using it for your hand sewing. I would suggest for any hand basting or sewing, get another color. If you're making an orange blazer, then your hand basting thread can be cream, it can be blue, something that's easy and visible for you to remove. Okay, so you need one project color, and then you need a basting color. Okay, the basting thread that we're going to be doing our handwork with needs to be something that is not the same color as your project. It needs to be easy to see, easy to grab when we're pulling out these threads. Okay, so we're going to do two colors for our one for our project, one for our basting. If you're going to be using all purpose thread for your basting, hey Julian, you need to have beeswax. Okay. And what happens is beeswax will take the ease, will add ease to your hand stitching. You don't have to worry about knots and all of that craziness. You just take. No, he's off to. He's taking off sick day today. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're going to um, take your thread, run it through the beeswax, and then after you run it through the beeswax, you're going to press it. Okay, a lot of people forget the pressing part in the end. After you run your thread through the beeswax, through the little things, literally, you just take it and you slide it through. Make sure you iron it, and then the properties of the wax will coat the thread, making the thread stiffer and easier to sew with. You can use silamide thread. This is something that you can buy from Walwack or any local tailoring store that you come from or that you live near. And this is an alternative. This is ore, beeswax and polyester thread, or silamide thread. Silamide thread is already waxed. It's pre-cut. It's a pre-cut thread that's already waxed, and it comes uh, in a decent length. When you're hand sewing, let's not do like our grandmama used to do and make the threads long enough that you could circle the house with them. And then when she's sewing, she going like this, and then she got to walk in another room to finish. It needs to be folded in half. It needs to be at least long enough that we could take one pass of thread and we can baste the whole down one whole front of a jacket. So I'm starting my thread here. I'm basting all the way down to the bottom of the jacket. Okay. It doesn't need to be any longer than that because now we're really going to be talking about knots and issues and problems that we don't want. Silamide thread is pre-cut. This is one reason why I use it because I never know how long to make my thread. And usually when I do my needle and thread, it's generally usually too short. So I use the silamide thread whenever I do my basting. Comes in all different colors. So get a color, like I have a lot of black. And then I have like a light gray, like a pearl gray. So when I do my dark color projects, I can just pull out the pearl gray and it's easy to see. It looks like almost like white or cream thread when I do it on dark. Okay, so make sure you have your thread, silamide thread, or if you're going to do polyester thread, it needs to be another color in your jacket that's not in your jacket for your basting, and you need to get beeswax. All purpose thread is fine. You don't want to use cotton thread. Let's use all purpose thread, which is polyester on the outside and it's got the cotton core on the inside. Okay, we're going to be doing tailor tacks. And for your tailor tacks, I want you to use embroidery floss. And the reason why we're going to use embroidery floss is because it's thicker than regular thread. And from the embroidery floss, if you guys are familiar with embroidery floss, there's 6 strands in embroidery floss. We're going to only use 3. So you take 3, pull them apart, Probably already have some. But go get some from Michael's and get it the color. You can get it darker color or a different color. This needs to be a different color than your project. If you are doing a black jacket, you don't want black tailor tacks. You won't be able to see them. Okay, so pick up any color. And then we're going to pull apart the three, and we're going to be doing our tailor tacks with 3 pieces of floss. Okay, so they'll be nice and uh, visible. Another thing about floss, since we're using three strands, when we cut the tailor tacks, you don't have to worry about them coming out of your fabric because they're very yarny. So they're going to stick to the fabric. They'll stick well to the fabric. Okay, so get you some DMC floss for tailor tacks. Okay, make sure when you get your hand needles, you want to get a pack of needles that has every size. We want to be able to accommodate the thickness of 3 embroidery threads. So we're going to have a larger eye needle. Okay, but we still want something that's going to be pointy and pierce the fabric. So the embroidery needles, the eyes are a little bit large, they're a little larger, and then the shank on the needle is a little bigger because we have the 3 threads. Okay. And then you're going to have regular hand sewing needles that are sharp. We want to make sure that they're at least 1.5 inches or 2 inches in length. We don't want to use the short needle. If you like short needles and you're experienced with hand sewing, using a short needle is fine. All right, here's the T word. Let me read this over. Um, my old. Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. I'm looking. I'm searching. And I can't find it. It's around here somewhere. Here we go. Where's the decorative one? A thimble. This is one I got in San Francisco. So you actually want to get a thimble. I have a thimble around here somewhere. Um, I don't know where it is. I'm not going to look for it, but it's my thimble that I use because, and this is something that you need to practice. Put a star around this. Practice your hand stitching with a thimble. Get a scrap piece of fabric if you're not used to using a thimble, and we're going to practice stitching. The thimble needs to go on your middle finger. Tailor Tailor thimbles have an opening here so you can slide it down a little further. There is no tip on a tailoring thimble. Dressmaker thimbles, quilting thimbles, your full finger is covered. Tailor thimbles, the top is opened. Mine has, I have the green clover thimble. I had a tailoring thimble, but I got nervous. I was chewing on it. I had to get rid of it. It's metal. I was literally chewing it. Um, so your thimble is going to protect your finger. Now you can do all of this hand sewing that you want without a thimble, but I can guarantee you you're going to get stuck. And to get stuck with the opposite end of the needle is detrimental. It is very painful. So I'm going to use this pin to kind of demonstrate. Here's what's going to happen when you're sewing with when you sew. You're going to have your 2 fingers holding that needle, and this one here is going to be right here in the back. And this is when we're talking about layers and things get thick, you use this fabric. You use this finger to push through, and then thimble is there to protect your finger. You're going to be pushing that needle through with this finger. Okay, so let me do it without the thimble. When your hand's sewing, you literally are going to be pushing the needle through with this finger. And you're going to take these two to pull it out. This is your pusher. These are your pullers. Push, pull. So you're going to be using that middle finger to push that needle through. And you'll feel it once we start hand stitching and basting through all of these
Mhm.
layers. A silicone one, no, that's not going to work because the top of the needle will poke right through
Stab it.
there. Yeah, you don't want it, Karen. You don't want to use a silicone thimble because the edge of a straight needle will come right through there, and it'll get stuck. Let me get my hand needle here. Here's regular hand sewing needle. This one is more of an embroidery needle because it's bigger. The thimble is to push this tip, and you can see how a silicone, this will just go right through a silicone piece. Okay, so don't use a silicone. If you have a clover needle, a clover thimble, I wish I knew where mine was. It's around here somewhere. The clover thimble is made out of like a rubbery material, but it has one piece of hard plastic that is on the front, and that allows you to push. You'll be pushing it through like this. And that's why you need to protect your fingers. I've done it plenty of times without and messed up my finger. So after like 4 times, I was like, all right, no more hand stitching for me without a thimble. So you'll get used to putting that thimble on the middle finger and it's there to push it through. Okay. It'll be there for you to push. So I want you to practice to get used to using these two to pierce and this one to push. Pierce, push, pierce, push. Okay. If you end up doing pierce and pull, pierce and pull, it just takes a little longer because you're going to have to grab the needle, pull it. I mean, it can be done with the two needles, I mean, with the two fingers, but you need to use this one and it'll speed up the process. And believe me, it does. It really does. Okay. Let's talk about now. This is something that I'm going to talk about since we're talking about hand stitching. When you're sitting down, if like say you're getting ready to pad out your collar or you're ready to pad out your lapel, make sure that you're sitting in a comfortable chair that has a back. Okay. The best thing to do is to cross your legs. This is what I learned in tailoring school, and I tried doing it without crossing my legs. I don't know why. I think it's just you have more control on your body posture when your legs are crossed. So now that I've gotten a little thicker, I can't do the cross like this, but I do cross my legs like this. And I make sure that my legs are crossed when I'm doing my stitching. And then your knee is also used as a table. You can set your hand on your leg and then you can stitch just like this. Okay, so put that leg up there. Proper way of hand stitching when you're tailoring is to have your legs crossed. Use your knee as a table, somewhere to put your hand. Your fabric can drape off of your leg, and it allows you to be close enough that you can sew, sew, and sew. Okay, and you can stay at your machine. This keeps you from getting up and going to another area and laying it down on the table. The only time I bring my project on the table is if I'm doing long basting all the way down. Basting, when I'm basting. When I'm pad stitching and doing intricate sewing on the inside of the jacket, my legs are crossed. I'm at the front of my machine and the project is in my hand and my arm is resting on my leg. Okay. Makes a huge difference. Okay. So this is something that you want to get used to. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I need to take my nails off. Yes. Or else it's gonna be like this. Here's your fingernail, here's your nail, here's your finger, here's your nail, and here's your thimble. So yeah, you're gonna have to take the nails off, ladies. We can't tailor with long fingernails. So if you have long fingernails, uh You might be able to work around it, but I don't know any tailors with any fingernails. I never had nails. I used to keep my nails long because my nails grow really fast. But typing and sewing, I cannot do. This to me is long. I keep my nails cut because I do a lot of sewing. You guys know that I sew almost every day when my soju is right. But typing at work, I can't do it with nails. So when you're doing this project, you're going to have to keep your nails short or else you're not going to really get anything done. Okay, so if you like the nails, just get a shorter length instead of the long. If you like the long ones and the ones that are pointy, just bring it down while you're doing the project. And then when you're done with your beautiful jacket, you can get you some nails to match your jacket. And they can be this long. So it's just temporary. Thimbles are available at Walmart. Yes. You might be able to find a thimble at Walmart. So yeah, thimbles are old school. You can find them. But the thing about finding a thimble is making sure that it fits. When you get it to fit, the ones that you buy, you just squeeze it onto your finger. The metal is light enough that you should be able to squeeze it that it fits your finger. Okay. Yeah, if you've seen the thimble with the tip removed, those are tailoring thimbles. You can use that and they just wrap right around. And then you can keep your nails. You can fit it right through the hole and then it just fits around the band. So if you got those long nails, you can get you a tailor and thimble. Now the tailor and thimbles may cost a little bit more, but they ain't gonna be $25. The tailor and thimble may be $10. Maybe it's $9.99. So you can buy it and then that way you don't have to worry about taking your nails off. All right. So now we've talked about the hand stitching portion. In all of the reading that I recommended and all the books that I talked about, there's chapters on hand sewing. Read the chapters on hand sewing. I highly recommend that you get a piece of fabric and practice some stitching. Practice basting, practice catch stitching. It's called catch stitching. Basting, catch stitching, and pad stitching is called diagonal basting. So if you don't know what diagonal basting is, go on to AI and ask AI, what is diagonal basting? And they will show you how to diagonal baste. And what happens is you go in a diagonal baste, you start under the bottom, and then you baste it again and baste it again. And as you go down, now your pad stitches start to form. So when we get there, I will show you that, but I want you to do research on diagonal basting. We're going to be doing a lot of that. We're going to be doing a lot of catch stitching. Okay. I had someone ask me about, well, what if I want to put a zipper on the front of my jacket? We're going to be doing prick stitching if you're going to hand stitch in a zipper. We're not going to sew in any zippers. All zippers are going to be hand stitched in. And whenever I do an alteration, well, when I used to do alterations for denim and replace zippers, I would prick stitch the zipper. It's super strong, washes well, way better than a sewing machine. I prick stitched all my I hand stitched in every zipper alteration on jeans that I've ever done and never had any complaints. Never. It doesn't fall out. It's a good tight stitch to use to install a zipper. Um, practice, practice, practice. Yes, this live will remain and you can definitely watch it later. Okay, so we talked about fabric, we talked about hand stitching, we talked about journal. I want you to journal all of your process. Okay, when we start the next class, we'll go over fitting and muslin. Okay. When you do your muslin, you can do like Shamir. You can take a piece of fabric and do your muslin. Now, Shamir, is that going to be a wearable muslin?
Yeah, this is supposed to be a real jacket, but yeah, I just haven't finished it. But it's the same
If,
pattern.
if you want to try it and you want to try a wearable muslin, you are more than welcome to do that. Me, I like to just do a muslin of where I'm going to have fit issues. And I will do the body of the jacket and I will do one sleeve. I don't need to do both sleeves. The only time I would recommend that you do a muslin with both sleeves if you have a shoulder, or maybe your shoulder length is different or your shoulder height is different, or you have a broad back and it's just on one side of the body. Those Then I recommend that you do both sleeves so we can make sure that both sleeves are symmetrical, and that we're doing the correct alterations to each side of the jacket. Okay. Me, I have an even keel here on both of my sleeves, so I'm just going to do one sleeve. The reason why I do one sleeve is because I'm shorter, and I know every jacket I cut out ends up right here in my fingertips
And
here.
mine ends up right here.
Yeah, so I know I gotta shorten my sleeve. So I need to put on a muslin so I can know how much sleeve, how many inches do I need to shorten this sleeve in order for it to work. Okay. I also know that because I'm shorter, the sleeve cap is gonna be down here on my bicep. So I know that I have to decrease my shoulder to bring that line up to where I need it. So this is why I muslin my jackets. And then by me having a fuller middle, a larger and a lower bust, I need to make sure that my jacket is going to close. I have a short torso, a lower bust. I don't need my button right here. Right? So I need to make sure that my button is in the correct place, that it's below my breastbone, and that my collar is going to transition past the breast. So when I do my muslin, I make sure that the body is good. I make sure my shoulders need to be where they are. I like to muslin because I know my sleeves are going to be too long. And then also on the back, I want to make sure that I can do um, my back fold here, and do my what do you call that, sway back adjustment. So that means I can get rid of some of the fabric that's back here in the back. So
Yeah.
I only I only I only muslin where I need muslin. So I don't usually muslin the collar. I don't cut the collar out. I just make sure I have the body, the front and the back of the jacket, and then the sleeve. I saw that Sunday service is starting for BSN. Do you guys want to keep going, or do you want to stop here?
I think we should keep going just to get the materials out there and it'll be here. If people want to hop over to the other line, they can always come back and watch this later.
Okay.
So
All
let's
right,
just,
that sounds
yeah.
good. So the muslin fabric, if you want to do a muslin mock-up, you can go ahead and you can use a heavier cotton. Okay, you can use a heavier cotton fabric. Uh, it's not wool and it's not going to be as pliable as wool, but it's close enough. If you want to use regular muslin, you can use regular muslin as well, or just kind of any cotton shirting, whatever it is that you have. Whenever I muslin jackets, me, I like a bed sheet. And the reason why I like the bed sheet is because it's a heavier cotton, it's a smoother cotton, and it's usually an Egyptian cotton or something like that. It's not going to wrinkle. I don't want the muslin kind of wrinkling on the back and lying to me about what's needed in the back. Is the muslin out of muslin fabric or fabric we use? No, it needs to be out of a muslin fabric. You don't want a muslin out of your fashion fabric. That fabric gets set aside until we start the project. Okay, it's there for you to look at and drool over while we prep for the project. So there's going to be some prepping time. We got to do some prepping before we get started. Okay, so you can muslin with a bed sheet. That's what I use when I muslin my jackets, um, or it's some kind of cotton. I like to use a cotton, but bed sheets have Egyptian cotton, and uh, even they have like a higher thread count, so the fabric is smoother, easier to read. when you're doing a muslin. And I usually just go to the thrift store. I'll get a top sheet, not a fitted sheet, get a top sheet, and then I throw it in the wash machine and I'll save the remnants for whenever I'm doing something else that needs to be muslin. Okay. So we're going to do muslin. Now, for muslin, if you have questions or you're not sure how to read a muslin, you can add them to the group. This is where we're going to be using the pictures for Let's Get Bespoke. And I'll be glad to chime in and tell you what it is that you need. I'm also going to be doing some fit series in my group. I can reach more people in my group where I can go live and we can talk about bicep adjustments and full bust adjustments and sway back adjustments and different things that you may need so your jacket will fit you correctly. These are prep things that we need to do before we get started. Okay. And when we do the fitting, whenever you do your muslin, make sure you log it in your journal. Okay. Super, super important. Okay. Now, after the muslin, we're going to talk about the tools that you're going to need. We already talked about hand sewing tools. When we start to press our project, you're going to need an iron, of course. You don't have to have the fancy schmancy iron. If you do have a fancy schmancy steam iron, that's fine. But don't use the community iron at the house that you got to crank it all the way up in order for it to get hot. If you do not have a satisfactory iron for this project, definitely you need to get one. Okay, you can go to Walmart and get you a Sunbeam iron for $9.99. Mine has been discovered. We will not, I repeat, we will not be using these. We will not be using craft irons on this project. These irons are not going to be big enough, and some of them don't get hot enough to train wool. So put this one away. Put your step counter on, and you're gonna count your steps walking back and forth to your ironing board. Okay, we're not ironing on the table for this project. All right.
And make sure your
You're gonna
iron
need.
is clean on the bottom because you don't want to get gunk all on your.
You
That's
don't
where
want to
it
get gunk on
catches.
your project. If you do have gunk on your iron, you need to turn your iron all the way up and put it on a washcloth, and then you just put it in circles, and it takes everything off the bottom. Is
Uh,
there a reason why you store your ham in a bag? Yes, my room here is crazy dusty. My house is very dusty. That's why my ham gets stored in a bag. Because when I get ready to press on it, I don't want to see the dust, exploding or popping up. So that's why I keep my ham in a bag. It's just because I keep my ham in a bag.
oh,
It's just
can
because
you
my
teach me
house
how
is
to use
very
this?
dusty. Yes, I will. I will show that as well.
Somebody
Uh,
said, can I think they're saying, can I use black satin fabric? Is that what you're saying, Joelle?
no, satin is not a good fabric to pad out. You can use silk shantung if you want something dressy. Silk shantung or silk dupioni. Silk shantung or silk dupioni are jacket fabrics. We can make those jacket fabrics that can be padded out. You can also use the brocade if you want something, but no, not satin. Satin is not a good uh, fabric to use for a blazer. Not to do all of the things that we're going to be doing. Okay. Because you can make a jacket out of satin, but we're doing a tailored blazer. So the dressy fabrics I recommend for a tailored blazer are brocade, silk dupioni, or silk shantung. or 4-ply silk. Those are dressy, quote unquote, dressy fabrics. Okay. Um, you're gonna need a tailor's ham. And not that soft stuff. I know a lot of us have them tailor hams that are squishy. We was calling them Amazons if you got it on Amazon, and they offered you five pressing tools for $9.99. It's probably not gonna be good. Tailor hams have sawdust on the inside. Yvonne, yes. It don't matter what your measurements are. We're making this jacket for you. That's what we're going to be tailoring. So join my Facebook group, Carol Song Corner, and we're going to be going through fit classes. We're going to do some fitting. Okay. Make sure you have a tailor's ham, and you need to be able to hear it when you knock on it. It's got to have sawdust in it. Okay. We're going to be doing a lot of ironing and a lot of pressing. Okay. Tailoring was one of the ones who had a Amazon that
Uh-uh.
you could squeeze it and it would squeak. I'm like, that's a dog toy. Ain't no ham. She was laughing like, I ordered one. So get you a real ham. You also need a seam roll. So this is my own seam roll that I made myself. Okay. So if you have the seam roll with the plaid on the front, that's more than what you'll need. We're going to need seam roll when we're pressing curved areas like our lapel and some darts. So get yourself a nice seam roll.
Do you have a pattern that we could use to make one of those? Is there a
No,
pre?
mine was. I've had this thing now for about 15 years.
Wow.
So you just got to make sure if you make one on yourself, this is the that ironing board fabric, the utility fabric, and you can see there's a seam there. And all I did was stitch one, turn it inside out. I stuffed it to the hilt, and then I just hand sewed it closed. So you can make one yourself, and it's stuffed with the polyfill batting like a pillow. Okay, so you can make one yourself. You want to make a seam roll. And as a matter of fact, I think one of these books, maybe the Reader's Digest book or the Vogue book, they have instructions on how to make your own seam roll.
Oh, what'd you say it was stuff with?
Regular polyfill batting.
Oh, cotton. Okay. I got some of that.
Okay.
A ton of that.
Okay. So now the next thing that you're going to need is if you don't have a tailor board, uh, we're going to need something to press sleeves on. Okay. So if you don't have a tailor board like this one, you can use your ham. And these are what we're going to be doing when we're molding our sleeves. And we're going to mold our sleeves in order to set them in. Once you learn how to set in a sleeve and how to mold a sleeve correctly, this is something that you're going to not just do for a jacket. I do it for shirts, dresses, anything that I make that requires a sleeve. My sleeve is always molded before I put it in. It's just a better look. It's smoother and it takes away the chances of you having those little puckles and pleats in the sleeve um, when you put them in. Sleeves were my nemesis, and they still are. So it's like a personal goal for me to put in a perfect sleeve every time I make a garment because in the beginning I struggled with sleeves and I absolutely hated them. So now that I mastered them, I still hate them. And it's usually the last thing that I do. Uh,
Me too.
but I've researched lots of different techniques and lots of different ways to mold and put in sleeves. So you can use your ham. for molding. If you have a tailor board, you can use your tailor board for molding. I also have, and then they have all kind of different little things. Here's another thing that I have that I set sleeves on that allows me to set in a sleeve. Okay, this is just a setter, and when we get to that part, we're gonna go through
Mine doesn't.
using and padded.
Whoop.
Uh-oh, calm down. Mine, these are removable. My pads are removable, so I can take them off if I need to. One nice thing about having a tailor board is not only do you have this part here to work in sleeves, you have this tool here. Some of you guys may have this clapper by itself, this piece right here. And this is for uh, pressing collars. And these are, we're going to be using this when we work with our peak lapels. We're going to be using this to press and iron. And then you may have this piece with like a block down here on the bottom. If you have this by itself, that's fine. Okay. We won't be using this part here. This is just another part for smaller curves that you can use here for smaller curves. Okay. Put this back on. So if you have a
They're
tailor
asking
board,
is your board
that's
still available? I got this one from Wawak. It doesn't have the color covers, but this one for
yeah,
sure.
you can get it from Walwack. You can get them on Amazon. They're a little bit on the pricey side.
Mhm.
Um, they're a little bit on the pricey side, but another thing that you can use is a point turner. And when you have a point turner, I want you to invest in a bamboo point turner. We need to have one made out of wood. Let me see if I can find mine.
I have one right here. Here you go.
You have one you can show?
It's a
Okay,
little
the
it's a
bamboo
little
point turner.
rundown.
That's okay. As long as you have it, you said it's a little bit rundown. Mine is somewhere here. Um, and something else I want you all to invest in.
Yes, mine does not come padded, but Auntie Carol said hers is still available and comes with the pads. So I think these run about $100, maybe.
I've seen some for like 40,
There you go.
between 40 and $60. But if you buy one, if you choose to buy one, you don't just use it for jackets. You use it for any sewing that you're going to be doing. Here's something that I want everybody to buy. This is a stencil brush. You can get this at Michael's, Walmart, it don't matter. Get you a stencil brush. And this one is half inch stencil brush. And stencil brush is going to be used to erase chalk. When you do chalk marks or something doesn't come, this gets rid of chalk. And not only does it get rid of chalk, but it gets rid of chalk markings without damaging your fabric. So
Um,
these cost about $1. So get two of them. I have two of them. Okay, and this is a regular stencil brush that you use when you're doing stenciling. So these are hair fibers right here. Okay, so get you a stencil brush. And this is what you're going to use to clean off any chalk markings.
I think you can get that at a craft store. So Michael's, probably even Walmart has stuff like that.
Michael's, Walmart, yeah, you can get these at a craft store. So get you a stencil brush. Okay. So those are your pressing tools and a couple more pressing tools. This is our sleeve board. We're going to be using a sleeve board to iron sleeves. And look at mine. You see, mine has the test of time on it. So you got to get you a sleeve board, right? And the sleeve board is where we're going to be ironing our seams open on the sides of our jackets. It's not just for sleeves. We're going to be pressing seams open and all kind of pressing you're going to be using your seam board and your ironing board. Okay.
Oh, they want to know where you got your tailor's board. Where did you get yours from?
My tailor board came from junetailor.com. I don't know if June Tailor is still in business. I think they are. They're the ruler people. Okay, so yes, junetailor.com. So you'll get you a tailor board from June Tailor. Okay. And then you can get them on, and like I said, they're on Amazon too. All right. Now we're still talking about pressing tools. This is a seam stick. A seam stick is a good thing to have if you don't have a seam stick. And you can see it's like a half round. Okay. And what the seam stick does is when you lay your sleeve or your side seam on the seam stick, what happens is what's visible up here is the actual seam, and you can press the seam without the allowances, leaving marks on the right side of the fabric. So it's almost like the seam sits like this. And so now you can press the seam and not worry about the allowances getting pressed onto the right side of the fabric. It keeps the seam straight up, and it allows you to press the actual seam and the threads only. Okay, so the seam stick is good. If you don't have a seam stick, this is just a piece of um, manila folder that I have cut in different widths. When we're pressing our seams, this goes underneath the seam allowance, which will stop imprints of seam allowances on the fabric, or the right side of the fabric or the wrong side of the fabric. So let's act like we're pressing a seam here. And then we have our seam allowance. We're getting ready to press the seam open. Here's our seam allowance. You take this and set it right underneath. And then we press our seam allowance right here. And this is nothing but manila folder. Okay. So that stops the imprint of the seam allowance pressing on your fashion fabric. Okay. We'll go around the house and consolidate the light bill and the gas bill and put it in one folder, take that other folder and cut it up. That's what I did. Okay. So it's just a piece of manila folder, and you might want to cut it. Maybe this one is 1.5 inches wide. And then I also use this as a hem guide. Okay. And so when I need to press up a hem, I can do that, because that easy hem thing that's made out of metal, I don't know how many times I burned myself on that thing. So this is also good to use for hem guides. And I have 1 inch, 3 inch, 1.5 inch. So I have all different sizes from that one folder. I just got my ruler out and then I cut when I need it. Okay. So that is pretty much what we're going to be using for pressing. And next for ruler and cutting, you're going to need, and you can have any one of these. And this is what we're going to be using to cut our, we're only going to be using this to cut our Hymo or hair canvas or regular canvas. You can use your style and design ruler. You can kind of see if you have one of these, we're going to be using this. If you don't have this, we can use the arm's eye ruler. If you don't have the arm's eye ruler, we can use the hip curve. Okay, we just need a ruler with a curve on it. Okay, and that's just going to be we're going to do doing one cut. Okay, where we're going to be using one of these tools. You don't have to have all of them. I have all of them. You just need one of them. I'll be like, Miss Carol, which one are we needing? One of them. Whichever one you have, that's what you can use. Okay, that's in terms of ruler. And then, of course, we're going to need your regular ruler and a seam gauge.
Wait, not this big one, a little one.
No, you need a ruler, 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches wide. If you have a yardstick, just the yardsticks are really long, uh, and then a seam gauge. So these are the measuring tools that we're going to be using, and that's throughout the process.
The
Okay.
seam gauge kind of ratchet.
Wallach has some really good seam gauges. They're only like $2. Okay.
I got a
So that's
question.
what we're going to need.
So if might you be able, because if we're just using this for shape and not measurement, right? This curve.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do I have two of them? Wow. Huh. No, it just fell
Yeah,
apart.
we're going to be using them just to do a shape, and then we're going to cut.
Okay,
That's
so
all we're
you
using
might
them.
be able to find a template online and cut it out on cardboard if money is an issue, because this is a lot of stuff. We have a lot of this stuff already, but it's a lot for someone who's just starting. So be resourceful. You just need a good curve. You might be able
A
to find a
template
template
is
online.
good, and use the rest of that manila folder for your template, and then just make you a curve from using a template that you print out from online. That's a really good tip right there. Really good tip. As a matter of fact, I would have had a whole bunch of cardboard ones around here, but nobody told me that. So yes, you can definitely do that. As far now, let's talk about, we've done with ironing tools and what we're going to be using for ironing. Let's talk about marking tools. With marking tools, you can use a couple of things. Um, we're going to be using Tailor text for sure, but for some small things or small markings, you can use a pencil, a colored pencil. Make sure it has a nice tip on it. And then what you can do is have a little small, shallow thing of water. It could even be in like a pillbox top. A little bit of water in there. So if you're using one of these pencils, dip it in the water first and then do your drawing. It's much darker. It takes some of the wax off the pencil, and it works wonderfully. So if you want to use a white pencil, just take it, dip it in the water, do any drawing that you need to draw. Okay. And this is aside from the tailor's tax. I have a chalk roller here we can use, paired with our ruler, where we can make nice lines. We can use this. Okay. You can also use regular chalk or wax chalk. You should already have this in your arsenal. Regular chalk or wax chalk. With the wax chalk, I caution that when you get your fabric, draw on it with your wax. Use your iron to press it. Make sure it's not leaving a residue. You want to make sure that the wax chalk is coming off completely. Okay. Because sometimes the wax can leave a residue. So take a scrap piece of your fabric and make sure that the wax irons off completely. And then if you are going to be using a wax chalk, the best way to sharpen it is to take your scissors, and then you can just scrape, scrape, scrape the
Is this a
edge.
wax chalk? This is supposed to be the one that deletes with heat.
That is it. Sometimes the wax is left as a residue, but you want to make sure that it's coming off completely. Yvette, question about jacket pattern to buy. Should I buy a jacket pattern to fit my bust measurement or my hip measurement? 49 bust, 65 hip. Let's do a 49 bust. We need to make sure that the jacket is going to close. The hips we can always expand on the jacket. Because if you buy a 49 bust, it's going to give us a hip that might not be close to yours, but we can make an alteration that we can widen the pattern where you need it widened, but making sure that the bust is encased. If we encase your hips, look at the alteration that we have to do to make the whole top of the
All of
jacket.
this.
Yeah, we don't want to do all of this because your bust, neck, armholes, arms are closer in line than your hips. So we can always alter to make bigger and to make smaller.
So
Okay.
would you just like cut and slash for the hip area?
Uh-huh. That's all we're gonna do is slash and spread, and
Oh,
then
slash
we'll
and spread.
make it in more like an angle from the waist down so it'll do
Now,
her hip.
question: do you recommend a single-breasted vest? Sorry, vest jacket for that,
Jacket.
or do you think a double? Because double tends to be very straight.
Very straight. I would recommend a single breasted jacket, and I think she'll feel more comfortable in a single breast. And then, too, when you have a wider hip, a single breast will offer a vent or two in the back.
Yeah.
So we'll have some vents in the back that'll help accommodate the wideness of the hips, and we'll have that panel in the back that we can spread if we need to move the vents out a little bit so that it's symmetrical and looks good. I think a single breast would be much better, much comfortable. Okay. Yeah, that was a really good question. Okay, so we talked about marking utensils. In addition to the floss you're going to need for tailor tacks, and we'll go over all of that. I think, let me look through my little book. I think I covered pretty much everything that we're going to need.
A seam ripper and pins. A lot of people like to use clips. Please buy some
No
pins.
clips, you guys. I know you guys like to use clips, but we're not going to be using clips because clips will leave imprints on your fabric. Um, Clips will also weigh your fabric. We don't want anything to stretch. We're going to be using pins. So use universal pins. Universal pins are long. They're longer. The shank is longer, and we need to be able to pierce all of the layers. So yeah, no clips. Y'all know I hate clips anyway. Who, who? You're going to need to get some shoulder pads, and you're going to need to get some, if you have some old fleece, like, maybe you was going to make your baby a little jacket and you didn't get around to it. Any old fleece we can use as sleeve heads. Um, and then shoulder pads you can buy or you can make them. So if you want to make shoulder pads, that's fine. I will show you how to make shoulder pads as we get to when we get to that part of the jacket and it's time for shoulder pads. If you want to make them and cover them, you can. And then in this book shows you how to make this book shows you how to make shoulder pads. Actually, all of the books show you how to make shoulder pads. So you can decide if you want to do that. Adrian, I don't know if you can still buy pads for the June Taylor pressing board. It's not necessary. So don't make that a focus and a reason why you don't buy it. Because a lot of times I take mine off, especially for the pointy stuff. The pads are not good for pointy. So if you can find it without the pads, get them because the June Taylor board is something that doesn't hang around very long. Something that sells out pretty quickly, and it's not necessary that you have the pads. And my June Taylor board is more than 15 years old, so it's been a while. So I'm not sure if they're even doing the pads. Okay. Yellowhead quilted pins are the business. So, yes, you can use those. They're much longer, they're easier to pierce several layers of fabric, and the tip is very pointy. Okay. All
Eve,
right.
we're
So
gonna start next Sunday. We're gonna do a live for a few hours, but I think we're gonna start with. Are we gonna start with talking about fit, or are we gonna start with trying to work on a like cut out the pattern? Like, where do you want to start next week?
let's start with cutting out the pattern. And
Okay.
then once we get the pattern cut out, then we'll start with the fitting.
Okay.
Okay.
So Eve, you got a couple weeks. At least start with the basics enough that you can get started with making a muslin. You don't need all of these tools until we get to the actual fashion fabric and the insides. So,
Exactly. All right. Now, one more thing.
while you're looking
I'm
for
gonna,
that, do we need twill tape? So for your rolls and stuff, are you doing twill tape?
right. So I'm gonna talk about interfacing and twill tapes and those kind of things. But first, let's talk about cutting tools because this will be pretty quick, and then we'll talk about uh, the what we need to buy in addition to our fabrics.
Okay.
Um, we talked about pressing and pressing techniques and clapper. Get you a clapper. It, if you don't have the money for a clapper, get you a piece of hardwood from the
Mhm.
home improvement store and put some muslin on one end. There you go. So you don't have splinters. Cover it up with muslin, put some staples in it, and that's what you can use. You will need this. You
Mhm.
will need a clapper. Get you a clapper. If it's a smaller one, that's fine. You're just going to be doing a little bit more pressing. But if you have a bigger one, then you'll just cover more area. Get you a clapper.
Yeah.
Gotta have a clapper and a pressing tools. Um, when you do, we talked about pressing, cutting tools. When we talk about cutting, I got those here, and we need here, and this one, and
While you're looking for your cutting tools, we have a question. It says, when you say cutting out the pattern, are you saying pin and cut the muslin? So next week, are we cutting out the paper or are we cutting out our muslin?
we're gonna cut out paper next week, and or leading up to next week. However many people have their pattern cut according to their size, then you can cut out your muslin while we're online. So what I'm saying is, in your journal, everybody needs to do this. Put your sizes down. We need to love our bodies. We want to put our measurements. We want to do bust, waist, and hips in that muslin. I mean, in that measurement. Bust, waist, and hips. Put on the good bra for the bust, the bra that you wear to work. If you're gonna be wearing this jacket to Walmart, put on the Walmart bra. Put on
Not
the
your sports
bra,
bra.
right? Put that bra on that you're gonna be wearing this jacket with, and then do a bust measurement, do a waist measurement, and a hip measurement. And when you get that hip measurement, we want to be around the fullest part of the body.
I would
Okay.
add, because I always do this adjustment, do a bicep adjustment too. If you like me, you got big arms, you want to knock that out.
Right. Your the pattern they may be too small. So take a bicep adjustment. Perfect. And
Um,
then when we put that muslin on, we'll know if it's tight that we need to open that up.
yeah. Toya, so most of our lives I think are going to be on Sunday, early afternoons, mornings, but the Zoom calls may be a little bit more flexible. So we'll get back to you about
Right.
the Zoom, but the lives will be usually on Sundays and probably on YouTube, so we'll save them.
Right.
So if you can't come. See.
We'll have them saved for you. Okay. So put your measurements down: bust, waist, and hip, and cut your pattern out according to the bust. When you choose your which one to cut, use the finished garment measurement. Don't use the body measurements. Use the finished garment measurement. Don't use the body measurement. And don't forget that if your bust is a 43 and my body measurement, and my finished garment measurement says 43, I'm going to go up a size. Why? Because of ease and the fact that I'm going to be wearing a bra and a shirt underneath this jacket. So we need to have extra room. So if my bust is 43 and the size 16 says a 43 bust, I may need to go to the 18 that'll say 47 and a half, or maybe it'll say 45, which gives me 2 inches more room. Now I can put on my bra, put on my shirt and my jacket, and my shirt fits comfortably underneath my jacket. And don't forget, we're going to be lining these jackets. So you need to give yourself some ease. And by ease, I mean at least 2 inches for the lining, your underwear, and the shirt that you're going to wear underneath. Okay.
And if you think you're gonna layer it with sweaters, consider that too. And Yvette, so you should join the Instagram group chat. So either send me or Auntie Carol a message. We'll add you also in her sewing corner group on Facebook. She'll be posting a lot of the Zoom information and the fitting information will go there.
Right.
So we'll cross pollinate, but you need to be in one of those groups.
Definitely. Okay. And this, now let me reiterate, this is going to be self paced. I don't want you guys sitting here on Sunday going, okay, when do I turn the page? Oh, okay, they're turning the page today. I want you guys to self-pace this. This is why I'm having you journal your process, because you may be at home one day and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go work on my jacket. I'm gonna do as much as I can with what I know how to do, and then you just journal how much time you spent, and then write down questions. I'm going to ask these questions the next time we get together. I want to know this. Okay, well, I don't know where to move forward. I was able to pad stitch out part of my collar, but I wasn't sure what to do to go further. So stop there, write yourself a note, write down questions in your journal, and save them for when we get together. But I want you to work on this jacket when you have time or when you're feeling it. Okay, because this project is going to take so long, it's not something you're going to finish overnight. And I don't want you to get sick of it, but I want you to anticipate the next move. Okay, this is why I said if you have a mannequin, to hang it so it's there, so you see it and you know, okay, well, I'm going to work on it a little bit. I want to try and do something else. Um, but it'll be there for you to tackle and to move forward. I want you to continue on with this process self paced. If it's self paced, then I know that you're reading. I know that you're vested. I know that you're trying new techniques and not just waiting on me to log on so you can move forward. I need you to move forward slowly on your own. This is why this project is going to take some time. So I just wanted to reiterate that because I have done so alongs where people were literally like, when I logged on, they're like this. And I'm like, why didn't you just go and do it? And so I have a motto in the sewing group: give it a whirl. You may make a mistake. This is why we have seam rippers. This is why we can pick it out. As long as the sky's not falling, you're good. To look outside. If the sky ain't falling, you're good. If the sky's falling, then we all in trouble. Okay. So Yvette, before we sign off, I'll go over all the books that you probably, out of the three, you'll probably have one of them. We'll go over the books again. All right. So I don't want anybody to be afraid of moving forward on their own. Just keep track of the time that you spent. I did this, I did this, I did this. I worked on it for 2 hours, 15 minutes on hand sewing. I spent 20 minutes on this. Read the book, 6 minutes. Write everything down, because if you are a person that is sewing for business, if you start tailoring, this is something that you're going to have to show your client. They're going to know, they're going to wonder, why does this jacket cost $1,500 for just a blazer? And you have all of your work to show for it. And this is something I had to do when I was working for men. I had to write everything down, because although men are easy to sew for and they don't care if it's sky blue, navy blue, or royal blue, they do want to know where their money is going. And then that's any man you live with. They want to know where the money is going. And so I had this time clock, this journal of work that they were able to review. And literally, after they read 3 lines, they was like, okay, here, here's your money. So we want to know where your time is being spent. Uh, if it's being spent in a lot on this and a lot on that. This is your Bible to say, hey, I need to do more work on this. Hey, I need to research this catch stitch. And it took me 3 hours to catch stitch 3 inches. Maybe I need to practice more. So this will help you keep track of what you need to learn and what you are doing. Okay. So keep that journal close.
Catrice
All
said
right.
her Vogue book is from 1975. Is that okay? Probably. I
Yeah.
mean,
My
it
book is
hasn't
from
advanced that much.
1970. Yeah. Mine is from like 1973. So
Okay.
no, that's fine. So yeah, it's the same book. It's still the same good information. For cutting tools,
So,
you can, if you have the big ones like this one I think is the
oh,
11
I
inch.
just got those.
If you have the 11 inches, you can use these. These are wonderful for cutting wools, any type of wools. Very precise, good precision. This is the 8 inch, 9 inch shear. These are fine for you to use. Um, Try cutting with 3 fingers in the hole, that little finger out of the hole. Don't jam all your fingers in there and cut. You're going to be reconstricting, you're going to be constricting your wrist, and that's going to cause pain. We're going to keep that little finger out of the scissors. Thumb in the top, three, little finger stays out. It allows you to get around corners. Corners should be cut at short choppies. Long edges, open those scissors and use the whole blade. Saves time. Okay. So you can use either one, the 9 inch, 8 inch. If you have the 11 inches, go ahead and pull them out and use them. Okay. If you have duck bills, you can get your duck bills out, because we will be doing a little bit of grading for the collar and for some pockets. So you can get your duck bills out for grading. Small scissors for machine work. Okay. Got to have your small scissors for the machine work and for clipping threads. Okay. These are the ones that are going to be there. And doesn't matter the brand of scissors, just as long as you have a nice sharp scissor that's going to cut wool really nicely. It's a good fabric to cut. If you are a rotary blade person and you're good with the rotary blade, you can go ahead and use rotary blade. I recommend that you use the 45 millimeter. Um, because we are going to be working with wool and it's tougher to cut. So you need a larger blade. Okay. So if you're going to be using a rotary blade, you can use rotary. Make sure your blade is new, especially if you're using wool. And by the time you're done with all of your wool cutting, you're going to have to get rid of that blade because it's going to be dull. I can guarantee you it's going to be dull. You won't even be able to use it for anything else. And when you're cutting wool, try not to press the blade down that much, because if you press the blade down, you're going to dull your blade a lot sooner. Let it, if it's brand new, you should be able to glide right through, and it should last you the whole project. And that's cutting the outer fabric and the lining. You might want to cut your lining first because it's thinner, and then go ahead and cut your fashion fabric. Because, like I said, cutting wool is going to dull your blade. Make sure you use a 45 millimeter blade, a bigger one. but not the small one. I have a couple of small ones. You don't want to use these to cut wool. The blade will be dull before you even get done with your project. Um,
Also, for your
so
lining, I recommend if you're gonna do the blade, a peaking blade or a peaking shear, and that'll keep your lining from unraveling.
from fraying so much, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing your project, what thing we don't want to do uh, as we start to construct, we're going to be pressing seams and things like that. We're not going to, ball it up and lay it to the side. Make sure it's hanging. We're going to do everything we can to keep the fraying at a minimum. Okay. Handling it, all of that stuff. We're going to keep fraying down to a minimum. And when that happens, things need to be hung up so they're not on your table, not in the way. And when you pick it up, it's some scissors hanging out of it, or the seam ripper got caught in the threads. You want to make sure that when you're not using it, hang it up out of the way, put it on your mannequin, put some pins in it to keep it from falling off, or just put it on a hanger and hang it on the back of a door or whatever. So when you're not working on it, it needs to be hung up, not tossed on the table. It always needs to be on the mannequin. So if some of you all have seen me working on my Vicky Soul blazer, the one that took me 2 years to finish, whenever I logged on, my blazer was always hanging up on the back of the door. It didn't, you don't give it table time. And when I started working on it, it stayed on the mannequin. That stops a lot of fraying, it stops a lot of stretching, and um, all of that extra stuff that comes along with working on a blazer. Okay. Good question. The Volkswagen book. Oh, I saw it. We saw that one already. Okay, so those are your cutting tools.
I also think it kind of helps with the shaping if you lay it on the mannequin, because sometimes if you
Mhm.
put stuff on a hanger, let's say, and your shoulders are broader than the hanger, then you get weird
It'll hang
fits and
down, right?
things. Yeah, so the mannequin is
But
always a good idea. Mhm.
if you don't have a mannequin, either one of the store bought ones, like the hard ones, or you don't have one that fit and you gotta use a hanger, put some stuffing in it. Stuff it with some paper in the arms, because what Shamira is talking about ain't no joke. The shoulder will collapse, especially if you are still working and we haven't put in shoulder pads yet. It'll just collapse. So put some towels in there. Get some old towels and hang an old towel on the hanger. That'll stop the marks from happening on the shoulder. It'll also stop the collapsing of the arms. So you can put a towel on there and then put your jacket on over that, and then just let it hang while you're working on something else. Maybe we're doing something with the lining or whatever. So that's what we need to do. Okay. Any questions about cutting tools? Now we're going to just talk about interfacings and tapes that we're going to need to purchase if you don't already have it. Let me grab my little interfacing thing down here. Okay, so for interfacings, we're going to need a couple of things. And let me grab my canvas. And my padding. Okay, here's something I discovered. I went to the clothing store, and this interfacing right here is called hair canvas. It consists of wool. Some of them have wool, polyester, and then the fibers are made out of horsehair. Okay, so it's a fabric that is woven and created to go on the inside of a jacket, right? So it's very stiff, very stable. It's a little hairy, uh, but it's expensive. I'm noticing that the price of hair canvas has gone up tremendously. When I went to my store and asked how much was a yard of hair canvas, they told me $30. It's less than that on wall whack, but they do make you buy at least 2 yards. So if you buy at least 2 yards, you're going to spend anywhere from 20 to $40. Okay.
Got mine
So
from
you
Wallback.
right. Oh, you did? Which one
Mhm.
did you get?
I
Was
have
it
no
20?
idea, but you can see that it's very narrow.
Mm-hmm.
And
They're not that long.
I think I have a 2 yard piece. And I think this was about $30, $40.
30 or $40. So that's a good price because when you buy hair canvas, you're using less than a yard on each jacket. So, and I mean, literally you're cutting two pieces of hair canvas, so that 2 yard piece will fill up about 4 or 5 blazers, so you get a lot of bang for your yardage buck. So remember that it's not like making a jacket and you need a whole front and a whole back. You don't, you just need small pieces. This is a chest piece. You can buy the chest pieces at the store when they already come padded out. And these are good for people that are making the blazers that are in warm weather. Okay. We just need a chest piece and we can do canvas. So here's my alternative for hair canvas. I have one. Sorry,
Oh.
I got a phone call.
Oh, there you back.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me do not disturb. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. I did a do not disturb, so now my calls are going to voicemail. Okay, so I bought 100% cotton canvas. I've already washed it, pre-shrunk it, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an interfacing on it on one side, and then I'm going to cut out my pieces. Okay, I'm gonna cut out the pieces that I need, and I'm also gonna use the chest pieces here. Okay, when I do my jacket, or the shoulder and the chest piece, I'm gonna use. I just need to alter it because this is for a man. It's like way it's way too big, as you can see. So I'm just gonna tailor it down so that it fits me. And then I'm gonna use regular canvas. So I have 100% canvas, which is a lot cheaper than the Hymo. And I'm going to press on one side, uh, some weft. I'll probably try a couple interfacings. I'm going to try weft interfacing, and then I'm going to try lightweight interfacing because I like my jackets to feel smooth and nice, but I don't like them super duper stiff because that when they're super duper stiff, that makes them like even more heavy and a little harder to work with. So if you want to do the same, you're more than welcome to do the same. If you really want to try Hymo and hair canvas, you're going to be making these jackets, then go ahead and invest in a piece of hair canvas from Walwack. Like I said, you'll have it, but I'm going to try this as an experiment and to see how it works. I think it should be fine. Um, but if you want to join me in the experiment phase, you're more than welcome. Um, but eventually, yeah, I'm gonna buy hair canvas because I like my blazers to feel a certain way. Okay, so I'm just doing this as a test, and make sure you serge the edges before you put it in the wash machine. So this has been washed and fully dried and pre-shrunk, so this is ready to go. Okay, this is weft interfacing. And you can see it's interfacing that has a weave on it. Weft interfacing is for textured garments, and wool is one of them. So you're going to need weft interfacing for when we reinforce the arms and the shoulder, when we reinforce the shoulders, uh, when we reinforce the wrist, and the hem area, we're going to be using weft interfacing. So I want you to get some of that. It comes in black and off white. Get it according to the color of your fabric. Okay, want to get weft interfacing. And we want to get Wiggin. If you can't get a hold of any Wiggin, they sell Wiggin, Wigan. If you can't get Wiggin, get a regular interfacing. And we're going to be cutting this on the bias, and we'll be using regular interfacing. Let me give you a look at Wiggin. This is my coat that I'm working on, Shamir, that me and you did.
Oh, with the embroidery.
Yeah, that I'm actually gonna finish it this year and wear it.
Okay.
Okay, this is Wiggin. It almost looks like tricot. It's a piece of interfacing that is cut on the bias that's really, really strong. And what it does is it goes on top of an interfaced area, down here on the bottom hem. Uh, Here it is. This is fused with weft interfacing. Wiggin is on the top. What this does is this makes for a nice crispy hem, but it also takes care of the hem from dry cleaning. It doesn't crease, it won't fade. It keeps the hem from sticking, like, it just keeps some body and some shape in the hem, but it adds crispness right on the hem. This is what I found on Wallwack. Hair canvas, sewing interfacing. Yes, that's what you need. 6, 7 ounces, 23. Yes, that's what Shamir has, Catrice. So you can get Wiggin by the roll. If you can't get Wiggin, they have it at Wallwack. You can use regular interfacing, and we're gonna cut bias strips. Okay. The Wiggin actually comes in a roll. And it's going to go on the hem area on the bottom of the garment, and it's also going to go on the sleeves. I would prefer you get Wiggin instead of using interfacing if you have never worked with it, and then that way you actually get to work with it, and you'll see what it does. Okay. You're also going to need a half a yard of fabric for your jacket stay. Inside my coat, I've used a piece of flannel. This jacket stay can be cotton, needs to be 100% cotton. Um, you can use muslin, you can use old printed cotton if you have it, you can use some white cotton in your stash, but we just need this jacket stay to be 100% cotton. The
Pre-strung.
jacket, the jacket stay on the inside of your blazer. This will go on the back of your jacket. Will provide um, non-stretch protection in the shoulders. It keeps the back nice and smooth, adds a little bit of warmth as well, but it's more for the appearance of the garment, and it also adds longevity to the actual garment itself. Anybody that's in a warmer climate, we are going to use weft interfacing to interface the back of the fashion fabric. Okay, so we're going to interface the top back of the fashion fabric instead of a jacket stay, or we can eliminate the interfacing on the back and then just add a jacket stay. It really doesn't matter because, like I said, it's cotton, it's breathable, and it adds. Not only does it add structure and helps the shoulder line, but it adds balance. because when we start putting buttons and things like that on the jacket, it'll be heavy on the front. You add a jacket stay, that actually kind of balance out some of the weight as well on the front of the jacket, on the back of the jacket. Okay. So we do a jacket stay, then you'll learn how to add a jacket stay to your jackets. Okay, so those are the things that you're going to need: hair canvas, weft interfacing, um, wigging, and a half a yard of 100% cotton for the jacket stay. Okay, those are going to be for your insides. I want you to get regular fleece. If you have some old fleece from Joanne laying around, we're going to need fleece for our shoulder pads. We're going to need fleece for our uh, shoulder.
Stay.
Help me out here. The shoulder stay. No, is it not the shoulder stay?
I'm not sure. Stay.
The heads, sleeve
Oh,
heads.
sleeve head. Okay.
We're gonna need fleece for the sleeve heads, and then fleece for the back of our shoulder pads. And if you have the iron-on fleece for the chest pad, that's fine as well.
Heads. Yes. Sleeve heads. Mhm.
Heads, yeah. So regular fleece is good. I've used regular fleece. As a matter of fact, that's all I use because I have that. It's just kind of laying around my sewing room. And we'll learn how to properly put in sleeve heads. Some people take it and fold it in half and put it in at the seam. But actually, with a sleeve head, the front piece is shorter than the back piece. So it's actually unbalanced. We have a shorter piece in the front, we have a longer piece in the back. So that what's the look? So we have more support on the back of the jacket, and then we have what we need here on the front. Yeah, fine. This is your front jacket. Your first jacket, that's fine. As long as you're willing to put in the work and the time, you'll get it done. And everybody has had their first jacket, right? Even me. I didn't just wake up one day some jacketeer. You definitely have to do it. The tuxedo jacket that I made myself first prom back in 2018 was the first, no, the second in-depth jacket that took me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to make. And I just took my time and did what I needed to do, and it came out beautifully. So yeah, you don't have to have 85,000 jackets under your belt. Regular jackets, I've made them before, but this one was really involved. I cut in jackets, and I mean cut in pockets, and I designed it myself. It was very involved. It was only my second quote unquote involved project, but I have made things prior to that. But that one I just wanted to take more time. So the next time I do that with this, for him, he'll be getting married. Yeah, it'll be for the wedding. Um, So I've covered. Oh, and then I told you guys what to pick up for interfacing and innards. If you want to experiment with me, you're more than welcome. Let's do the regular 100% cotton canvas. Pre-shrink it, pre-wash it, and get some regular interfacing or the weft interfacing, and we're going to interface that and cut out our chest piece. If you're buying the Hymo and or the I keep calling it Hymo because Hymo is even more expensive. So I'm sorry. Hair canvas. If you're buying the hair canvas like Shamir showed, what you can do to pre-shrink this is fill up the bathroom sink full of nice hot water, and then you can just dip it in the bathroom sink a couple times, let it get wet, take it out. You can roll it in a towel dry it, let it hang to dry, and that'll pre-shrink. And that's actually a good idea because this fabric is kind of grainy. If you go ahead and you pre-shrink it first, when you cut it, that'll save you a whole bunch of grains and crap on your table and all on your arms. And so, because I didn't used to pre-shrink this, but I said, let me just pre-shrink it once. And I pre-shrinked it, and the mess was like 50% less than what I had dealt with in the past. So if you want just hot water, dip it, you can submerge it, and then towel dry it, let it hang to dry, and that's all you need to do. And some people have asked regular interfacing, you can also pre-shrink it, but most interfacing backings, the backings are polyester, so you don't need to. This also, you can do the same thing. Dip it in hot water. It does not affect the glue. Dip it in hot water, hang it up, and let it air dry. And that's I don't recommend that you do that unless you're just making jacket after jacket after jacket, or these projects are paid projects that are leaving the house.
I have a question. I'm
Hmm.
considering doing I don't know, is it felt or whatever on the undercollar?
Hmm. You can
Uh,
do the felt undercollar. Actually, if you do the wool, get wool felt, not craft felt. Everybody hear that? Wool felt for the undercollar, and the wool felt allows for smoother hand stitching when we're closing up the gorge line, right? When we're doing our hand stitching, it also adds a whole lot of shape. We're going to be pad stitching that out. It makes the pad stitching invisible on the undercollar. So if you want to do the wool uh, undercollar, um, definitely good idea. I will be doing it now that Shamir has let the cat out the bag. Then I'll go ahead and I'll do the wool felt undercollar. So it's got to be wool felt. Now, don't be using that stuff that we make bunny ears and spider legs out of. And don't be going to Michael's grabbing that kraut felt that's on the shelf. You need to get some.
so not this stuff.
Right. You need to go get you some wool felt. And you might be able to order wool felt on Amazon. If not, Walwack probably has it. And you don't need much. You can, if they let you buy a half a yard, get a half a yard. If you want to buy a yard, you can buy a yard of it and just put it aside until you get ready to do another blazer. Um, Even if you do a regular simplicity blazer, something cute or quick, you can do a wool felt undercollar, and it just adds that much more oomph to the pattern, because I've done that before. I've put wool felt collars on, you know, easy patterns, and add jacket stays to easy patterns. But now I got these jackets in my wardrobe that look great every time I wear them. I don't have to iron them to death, and it just adds to the upkeep of the garment. So yes, I will be doing the undercollar, and I'll be doing the black felt on mine. Okay, so wool felt goes underneath the collar, and we'll be using that. It'll be cut on the bias. It's cut on the bias because there's some stretch, and the collar goes around the neck, and we'll be padding out. We'll be pad stitching the bottom part of the collar. So when we get to that, I will show you guys what to do, because I noticed that these patterns don't have the draw out, or the piece that goes on the actual collar. I'll show you guys how to mark your collar so that the piece that when we put our canvas on there and we're ready to pad, it'll be for your neck. It'll be specifically for your neck. Okay. And I think I have covered everything as far as what we need to get, what we need to buy.
What about the
What,
twill tape? Is there like a
oh,
specific
twill tape.
fit or
I forgot about twill tape. Okay, so for twill tape, we're gonna need twill tape. Um, I have some somewhere. Do you have some you can show? Uh,
I do. Mine is probably too thick for this, but I do have
Mine are all up in the boxes here.
some.
And then I'll explain twill tape. I knew I was forgetting something. I'm glad she said that.
Let's see. This is what I can get to the quickest, but these are too thick. Just go ahead and say that off jump. But here's
Okay, so twill tape, we're gonna need to get a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. Don't go bigger than 1/2 inch. We need 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch twill tape. If you can find, actually 1/4 inch is too small. You can do 3/8 up until a 1/2 inch twill tape. Let me see, how wide is this? This is 5/16 of an inch. This is 1/4 inch. This is too small. Twill tape, your twill tape needs to be a 1/2 inch. You get 3/8 or a 1/2 inch, whatever is available to you. Um, it doesn't matter. Just as long as it's 3/8 or a 1/2 inch. And what we're going to be using the twill tape for is the roll line. So when you put on a blazer,
here's one.
okay, is that 1/2 inch?
Let's measure it. Yes, this is a 1/2 inch.
You know what? In the tailoring book, they have a better picture. Okay, so in the jacket, we're going to be doing something that's called a roll line. And the roll line is the line that's created here on your blazer. Okay, so when we get done making the blazer, you can see how her jacket is folded open. It's not done with iron, y'all. So those of you all have been doing it with iron, when I found out it wasn't done with iron, I was like, oh, really? It's not done with iron. That happens naturally. So what happens is on your pattern piece, you're going to mark off your roll line with a piece of twill tape. And the twill tape goes, there's a spot on the pattern. The twill tape goes right next to the roll line or behind the roll line. And then that twill tape is put there, is pinned there, and then it's stitched down. You actually are going to be sewing it down. And we're going to be hand sewing the roll line down. Here's a close up. We're going to be hand sewing the roll line. Okay, or we're going to be, it's called catch stitching, and we'll be catch stitching the roll line. And believe me, it's going to go a lot faster than you think. Let me show it to you here. And this is where we're going to be using our 1/2 inch twill tape. This line here is going to be on your pattern. I don't care what pattern you choose. If long as it has a front lapel, there is always a roll line. And the twill tape is going to go behind the roll line. So what happens is naturally that piece of tape stops that lapel from rolling further. Once the fabric hits that roll line, it stops and then it automatically comes over. When you pad out your lapel, what you're doing for the pad stitching is you are creating like a curve. And so it's going to curve and it's going to stop once it meets that roll line. And when that happens, you have a perfectly set lapel that never needs to be ironed. It's going to open up and fall that way on its own once we do pad stitching and once we add the roll line. What the pad stitching does is it creates that little curve bump there, and then it adds weight to the lapel so that it rolls over to the line, but then it lays. The weight makes the lapel lay nice and soft up against the body. Um, so we're going to learn how to do that. So you're going to need to get twill tape. I like to buy twill tape by the roll. It comes in like 100 yards because I don't just use twill tape for the roll line. I use cotton twill tape when I sew waistbands, and it stops stretching. If you're making blue jeans or if you're making pants with a little bit of elastic in them, what I do is I put twill tape all the way around on my seam line when I do my waistbands, and I don't have to worry about my waistbands growing. These pants that I'm wearing now are stretch sateen. You guys may have seen this on TikTok. These are stretch sateen. There's a piece of twill tape in the top of here because I don't want this stretch to keep growing. I don't want my pants to keep growing. So you can use twill tape on waistbands. You can use it on anything that's going to grow. So if you see twill tape that comes large, in a large quantity, that's fine. If it's 100 yards, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, you didn't mention, but you want to have a proper pressing cloth. I don't always use a pressing cloth, but when I'm using expensive fabric, I always use a proper pressing cloth. So this is just silk organza. You can't use poly organza, it will melt. Silk organza, but there are like other types of like pressing cloth that you can purchase. So you want
You can either buy yourself a half a yard of silk organza, or you can buy these. But when you buy them, they cost, to me, that costs more than buying a half a yard. I just buy a half a yard. You see, I serge the edges.
I just let mine go. Just let mine be free.
You
And
did, except mine was fraying a little bit too much, so I just went on and just serged the edge. So this is just a half a yard of silk organza I bought at a fabric store, and then I just came home and pressed it. And y'all, I never washed this thing. Ain't that terrible?
mine's never been washed either. It's got all kind of crap on it, but
This is like the magic fabric, you guys. If you have silk organza, you can press sequin and it won't melt. Put it on top of sequin and it just presses the fabric without damaging the sequin. So I was sold. Another thing that you can do with silk organza is if you have a pattern or a vintage pattern that has tape on it, just put this over it. When you put the light heat on the old pattern with the tape, it doesn't melt the tape or anything. You can just pull it right off and you can press your patterns. So I use my silk organza to press patterns that I have altered and that have tape on it. And I mean cheap tape. I use cheap tape, that shiny kind. I think that's the brand, cheap tape. So yes, twill tape and silk organza, part of the pressing tools. Definitely need this. Definitely, because we're going to be doing a whole lot of seaming, a whole lot of pressing. And if you are working with a linen or a fabric that has red in it or something like that, we're going to need a pressing cloth to protect the fabric from heat damage. When you see that fabric turn another color. Say you got red and then it turns a darker color, or you got a pink fabric and it turns dark pink, then it's the fibers are suffering from heat damage. Put this on top and then you don't have to worry about that happening. Okay, so silk organza, you guys, not poly organza, not cotton muslin. Cotton muslin you can't see through. This you can see through. You can actually see what you're ironing and what you're pressing. Okay, cotton muslin, you're taking a chance on pressing seams where the seam allowance is folded, and then you have to go back in. So silk organza when we do this project, and then after you get used to using silk organza, you're not gonna want to use anything else. You guys have watched me sew. This thing is part of my online buddy. I use this all the time. All right. I think that is it. Shamir, can you think of anything else?
no, I think that was pretty comprehensive.
Does
Um,
anybody have any questions that's left out there? Anybody got any questions? And Yvette, yes, I'm gonna be reiterating all of this stuff. Um, as we get to it, as we go through it. This is the tailoring book. You can get this on Amazon or Etsy. Just put in tailoring and this book will pop up. The Reader's Digest Guide to Complete Sewing. This one is my favorite. I made a bookmark. You can see my little bookmark pages. And then this is one of my old books that you can smell.
Ew. I hate that smell.
Oh God, I love the smell of old books.
Mm.
Yes, you can ask a fitting question. Hold on one second, Jana. And then the Vogue sewing book. Mine is from 1973, so you may have a newer version. Um, all the information is still the same. Okay, Jenna, what's your question? Sure you do. Sure you do. Don't say the goods, just say the
You
wherewithal
can
and
do
the time.
it. Do you
For sleeves,
fit
do
the
you fit the armhole, then make bicep? No. The armhole doesn't change unless you have gapping. It gets a little narrower. But for bicep adjustment, this is our bicep. Mine's a little flamby. But it's the muscle. This is the bicep right here. So this is what we want to fit. So if you're not sure where to put the measuring tape, make a muscle, and the measuring tape goes on the widest part of the bicep. That is your bicep, right here where the muscle is. Because what happens is when you wear your clothing and raise your arm and do this, do that, the bicep is what spreads and contracts. This is what grows and gets smaller on the body. And so a lot of patterns don't allow enough ease. If you're somebody who's constantly working out, where your arms are a little bit larger or your biceps are more defined, the sleeves might be too small. So we can make the adjustment. The adjustment doesn't have to be super big. A lot of people think that it's got to be really big, but the bicep adjustment doesn't have to be bigger than an inch or an inch and a half.
And if your arms eye isn't fitting, it might be a bust issue. Maybe
You
not
might need to go bigger,
arm.
right?
Yeah.
Because we got that little extra meat there on the side there. If you notice on a pattern, when you have a pattern and you have that hook on the hook on the arm side, the one that's right here,
Hmm.
right? This right here is even with the bust line. Pretty much it's right here. So if you go across, that's where the bust starts. So if your arm size is too small, then you're going to have problems with the bust fitting. Okay. So make sure that the bust fits and make sure that when you do this arm adjustment, you put that seam allowance in there. Make sure you sew it, and then you'll know how the fit is. Is the armhole too small? It's probably not going to fit in this area either if the armhole is too small. If you have a multi-size pattern and you just need a little bit of room, so let's say you cut out the 16 arms eye, maybe you can cut the 18 arms eye, and then you won't have any problems. Remember, these patterns are multi-sized. Use those other sizes. Use the other sizes. Hey, Avis.
Yes, that I have big biceps too, so I always have to make adjustments.
I got a little flabby patties here. I only have to make adjustments on some things because arms are always too long and too big on me, regardless of the pattern.
You got the opposite problem.
They're always way too long and way too big. So I always have to adjust um, my arms. So also make sure that your jacket has a two-piece sleeve. This one has a two-piece sleeve, which you usually see a seam down the back and not on the underside. This macaw pattern has a two-piece sleeve. When you look at the drawing, the line drawing, you see on the back there is a seam on the back. We want a two-piece sleeve, not a one-piece sleeve. The one-piece sleeve is the whole Dracula cape by itself. A two-piece sleeve is that Dracula cape or that ice cream cone cut, where there's one piece and then three-quarters of a piece. We want to make sure we have a two-piece sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandson calls them pancakes. Oh, pancake. It's a pancake. Okay. Only been sewing for 3 years. That's why you learn to sew plus size petites. McCall's used to do petite patterns, McCall's in Vogue. Then they stopped. Then they tried to do it again, and now they're going bankrupt. So does anybody does anybody have any more questions that they want to ask while we're on right now? And then I can give you guys your homework.
Yeah.
All right, so
Right.
here's your homework.
Yeah.
Write your sizes, write your measurements down in your journal. Bust, waist, and hips,
And biceps.
and bicep. This McCall's pattern is 8350. Okay, write your measurements in your journal. Look at your finished garment measurement and determine the jacket size that fits your bust. Everything else we will alter and work with fit. That's what you want to cut. If you are a cutter, go ahead and cut that size out. If you are a tracer, trace that size out. Okay, so if the 22 fits your bust, cut out the 22 or trace the 22, whichever is it you like. Some people don't like to cut their patterns.
That
No
no,
knit
we're not
fabric,
doing knit
Adele.
fabric this time.
No knit. Yeah, no knit fabrics.
To review
Peggy Sager.
fabric, we're gonna do solid colors. No prints, no patterns, unless you have a lot of experience with pattern matching already. No boucles. We want linen is okay for a warmer climate, but no cotton.
Right.
And let's see, no boucle. You could do a wool tweed, a wool twill, wool garbardine, a wool
Mm-hmm.
crepe are
Yes.
all great options. So
Yes.
natural fibers, no stretch,
No stretch.
nothing too fancy. If you want to do a dressier jacket, we are allowing you to use things like brocade. What was some of the other
Mhm.
ones you said?
Brocade, silk dupioni,
Mhm.
silk shantung, or four-ply silk. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're great for jackets.
Yeah. So all natural fibers, no stretch.
Mhm. All natural, no stretch. And Adele, if you're using a Peggy Sager's pattern, Peggy Sager's likes 3/8 inch seam allowances. We need larger seam allowances. So when you cut out her pattern, I want you to add seam allowance. You need to add more seam allowance. All of her patterns are done on a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I don't think she's changed her way because she loves that. So whenever I've done Peggy Sager's patterns, it's always 3/8 of an inch on the seam allowance. You need to make your seam allowances larger on the side seams. Anything that has a vertical seam needs to be at least 5/8 of an inch or 1 inch. And those of you who are going to have a lot of fish fitted, who think you may have a lot of fitted issues, you can add to that 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, make it 1 inch. Any vertical seam needs to be 1 inch. Okay, so that means under the arm, the sleeve. Um, we can even do the shoulders. If there's a seam going down the back of your jacket, make those seam allowances 1 inch.
And this one has a side, two
Hmm.
sides, back seam.
Okay, not the darts, just the vertical construction seams. Those need to be on 1 inch if you want to work with 1 inch. So that gives you, and then if you're somebody whose weight fluctuates a lot, a 1 inch seam is good. Then that way, if you gain weight, all you got to do is you'll have extra seam allowance to let that jacket out, and then all the work and everything you put into it, you can still wear this jacket. You just can go inside and switch the seams and just make them a little narrower on your seam allowance, and then that gives you room to let the jacket out. Otherwise, you can just leave the seam allowances the same. But Peggy Sagers, she does small seam allowances because she doesn't like to trim. She hates trimming seams. So I'm glad you put that on there. So if anybody else is using a Peggy Sagers pattern, know that all of her seam allowances are at 3/8 of an inch. And Simplicity are those jacket two-piece sleeves. If you look at the line drawings, Yvette, you should see a seam on the back of the sleeve. If the sleeve looks like this, then it is two piece. If it does not look like this, then it's only one piece.
Also,
As
read the
seen,
description. They usually
let you
tell
know
you.
that it's two piece. What'd you say?
So you can also read the description. They usually tell you if it
If
features a
it's a
two
two-piece
piece.
sleeve, you're right. Just curious, why do you want larger than 3/8 seams? Larger than the 3/8 seam allows for fail safe. If you make any mistakes, uh, you'll have seam allowance to fix it. If you have a 3/8, I don't recommend anybody work with a 3/8 seam allowance unless they are an experienced sewer, where you're not making a lot of fit mistakes. Because 3/8 is small, it's very small, and it's not alterable. That's why. I've done her patterns before, but I made sure that they fit before I cut into them, so I wouldn't have to be worried about uh, seam allowance issues. And with one of the jackets that I made was a like a denim dress jacket, and I also made a dress. But you have to get fit right. Fit has to be right with her um, patterns because she doesn't allow any. You can't take it out, and you can't. You can take it in, but you definitely can't take it out because those seam allowances are small.
Yes, and when you're working with these natural fibers, when you get too close and you put tension on them, they kind of
They'll
fall apart.
pop. They'll start to come.
Afraid
You'll
and
be
get
able to.
pinched,
Right, you'll be able to see the where the fabric is, and it'll be like a run, almost like running.
especially if you're using linen, because linen is already not that tightly woven.
Right,
So
you'll be able to see. It said the pattern piece 12 upper sleeve, 13 undersleeve. Yes, that's two piece. Upper and an undersleeve. Yes, that's the two piece.
it's a similar process, Eve.
Yes,
More fabric.
it's just a coat is more fabric. And then when you do a coat, your hair canvas doesn't go all the way down. It just stops where you're, if you were making a jacket.
Okay.
You got a pattern? Awesome. Something you don't have to buy. Anybody else got some questions? So we can do some Q&A right now. It's raining outside. Not like I got anywhere to go. But if anybody has any Q&A, we can do some Q&A. Unless Shamir, you have to go.
Oh, I don't have to go. I'm okay for now.
Okay. Come on, y'all. Anybody else? Anybody else a little afraid? Anybody else a little afraid of moving forward? I want you guys to feel comfortable. We'll be here with our safety nets.
It'll be fun. So I can let you guys know what some of the next steps for me is. I wrote everything down. So I'm going to type this up and post it in the group chat. So if you're not in the Instagram group chat, make sure you get with one of us so you can get in there. You can get all the information. I'm an Instagram user. Auntie Kara also has a Facebook. She can take that information and drop it in her group as well.
Hmm.
So you can catch it there too. I'm also going to update my Amazon storefront. So some of these things you can quickly get them on the list. If it's on Amazon, I'll put it there. If not, you might have to try your local fabric stores, craft stores, and or shop online to get stuff. But you got a couple weeks. Next week, we're going to come back on Sunday. We agreed to like 11 a.m. Standard Eastern Time, but I'll check back to see. But we're going to be working on cutting out our pattern or cutting out our muslin, and we'll be there to continue to answer questions and share resources and ideas. And then from there, we'll figure out a cadence. We'll get the first Zoom set up, so on and so forth. So,
Yes.
want to make it
Any?
easy as possible. It's a lot of information, so I did take notes. Make sure you get a journal. Get you a journal.
Now that's what the journal is good. Um, my group is Carol Sewing Corner.
Eve, I'll add you to the chat, Eve. Actually put a note on here because I was like, I can't remember if Eve is in there. So I'll add you, Eve, because I follow you. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. We decide on 11 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern, right before Sunday service.
Oh, that's cool. Do you have a Minerva code?
A fabric
Minerva
code.
was
I do
it,
have a fabric mark code
oh,
now,
Fabric Mart.
Catrice.
Yeah.
Literally, they just gave me a code the other day. So send me a DM, Catrice, on Instagram, and I'll send you my link for Fabric
Oh,
Mart.
Jana had a question. That's right. Yvette, yes, you can shorten the pattern. We are going to go over fit and things like that. If you join my Facebook group, I'll be asking stuff there. Let's see.
Okay.
What sleeves do you fit the armhole? Jana, is that the only question that you had? It's the only one that I see.
I'll add you, Karen.
I think we did that. Uh, Solibra, I think we did Jana's question. Jana, did we answer your question? Did you have another one? Anybody else? Is everybody excited about this? Are you there's no need to be fearful. Like I said, it's nothing that is going to be so difficult. This is why we take the time that we're going to take so that you can work on it slowly and get the parts done that you're comfortable with, and that we move at a slow pace. So this is going to be a slow pace. So if you're used to making things in an hour,
I think this will be a great Christmas gift to yourself.
yes, you'll have a nice custom blazer, and and I wore my Vicky Soul suit to work, and you just really don't think about. Yeah, we answered the code question. We don't think about all the work that we do. And when I wore that outfit to work, some guy in the office, he was like, "Wow, that's a great suit." And I was, "Oh, wow, thank you so much." It's nice when people recognize quality because it's like I spent not a lot of time on that blazer because it sat up there for a while. But I did put a nice bit of time into it and, paid attention to what I was doing, and I ordered special buttons and, the whole nine, and it really paid off. It's a great piece of suit that's hanging in my closet now. yourself. And we may get done, we may get done before Christmas. We may be done at Thanksgiving. And you could wear it to the Thanksgiving dinner. Just, not to the
Yeah.
one where there's gonna be a food fight. We don't want to wear it there. So that's serious.
Yay, we're glad you're excited.
Yes, Catrice. Yes. So you're going to be one of those ones that's gonna be like, okay, all right, so what's next? And it's actually when you're working on a blazer, and you're doing the complete insides, and when you do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit at a time, you can actually see the insides and what you're doing. So you are definitely going to be witness to the process, and it is exciting to see it come to fruition. Yes, I would recommend the Jessica Blazer.
Oh, it's
Yes,
nice.
yes, yes. Oh yeah, great for an interview. We're making a real blazer. And those who know, because the people who know good clothing, whenever I wear a nice piece to work, I always get a compliment. So yes, great for job interviews. It'll be a great piece for job interview. One at a time, but I don't want you working on two at one time. We're gonna do one at a time. And then for that second one, I'll just send you my stuff. You can just make mine since you have this time.
Right. Make mine too. Actually, make all these jackets that I have hanging up in here. Finish all of them, please.
You're gonna be taking it with you on a business trip, then that's fine. Because when we're doing the padding and when we getting the finalized, when we do the lining, we're gonna be doing hand stitching. We'll hand stitch the arms on, and we'll do some hand stitching on the lining, as well as the gorge line and the pad stitching that we're gonna be doing all over. Yeah. Shoot me your address in the DMs and I'll send you my pattern and everything, my measurements and anything else you need. I'd like a red one. So,
And we did talk about the outer shell fabric, but for the lining, don't get like the cheapest thing in the store. It's a nice jacket, try to get a little bit higher
uh,
quality than the really plasticky stuff. And plus you want something that has like a silky touch to get your arm in and out nicely. You
right.
don't want to like
And
put it in and the lining is riding up and all that weird stuff. So silk lining is preferable if you've worked with silk, but
if
not
you've worked with silk, I don't recommend Bimberg. And the reason why I say no Bimberg is because it's a little bit flimsy to work with, for your first involved jacket. You want to do something a little bit heavier. If you have a nice poly fabric, or let me show you what I'm going to be using. I have a couple of options. Do you have yours, Shamir?
I think I'm gonna use a silk one. But I like peach skin. Is that what it's called? I've used that for lining jackets before, and I like the way that feels on me personally.
And it wasn't, well, peach skin is okay. Peach skin, I don't like the way it sews.
Oh,
Um, but it was okay. It wasn't staticky.
no. Let's see.
Okay, wait a minute. I done buried mine down here in the bottom. Okay, here's a
So here's
couple of.
my lining. I mistakenly bought this thinking it was gonna be a little bit heavier because it said silk twill, but it's like scarf. I mean,
It's
it's
like
heavy as
scarf
it.
material.
Yeah, it's almost like scarf material. So I figured I would probably use this, at least in the sleeves. But this is the peach skin. I like this. This you say you think it's harder to work with?
Peach skin to me, I don't like the way it sews. I don't know why. When I every time I get it, it just kind of is hard on the needle.
Oh,
And then peach skin doesn't iron well. You gotta hold it down to get that iron to get that crease in there. Here's some options too. This is called kasha satin.
oh yeah.
Kasha satin is a good fabric that you can use for a
Bye, Rob.
right. You're out of here. It's like I should have been like the I see I should have been what the F are you doing on this live then? Get off.
Right.
Okay, but anyway, this is kasha satin. This is a little heavier satin. This is a good satin to use if you're doing a wool jacket. It's a little heavier, so I don't recommend this for the warm folks. This is what I'm going to be using for my project. This is more of a jacquard. Okay, this is a jacquard. It's a little bit thicker. It's you can see it's got a little bit of stiffness to it, so I'll be able to form this easily without any issues or added issues. This is the one that I'll be using to line my black jacket. This is a menswear lining. This is a paisley. This one is a little bit thicker, and if you get a menswear lining, they're anti-static.
Yes. And Wawak sells that as well. So if you're gonna make a Wawak order, I have used their paisley lining, and it's really nice
It's
and
really
easy to
nice.
work with. It's easy to work with.
Mm-hmm. Easy to work with. That's what we want to get, something that's easy to work with and that's pretty.
Yeah, because it has a little bit
Easier.
of weight to it. Like she said, it's thicker than like something like this. This moves around a lot.
Hmm. A little thicker, and then it's easier to manipulate. And that's what we want, something that's easy to manipulate. Then use canvas for the first mock up. I don't want you to create a mock up because we're going to be doing way too much fabric. I mean, way too much fabric, way too much work. Uh, I want you to um, use regular fabric. We're going to be going through it nice and slow. You're not going to need a mock up. You're not going to need a mock up. And we're going to be using muslin for fitting. Okay. So if you're considering that, then that's different. But I don't want you to make a full blazer and call it a mock-up. I want you to use um, I want you to use your muslin to do any fitting, to take care of any fitting issues. So when we cut into the actual fashion fabric, you're gonna have a jacket to wear when we're done.
Yeah, even if you can't find it locally, Wawak has it, and they have just a few colors, but
Yeah,
the
that's all you need.
typical, the deep red, the silver, the black.
Right. I actually got that silver one to go with like a berry colored fabric with
Mhm.
black lines in it, and it's really a nice off put. It's really pretty.
Yeah. I used the deep maroon one to go with my rust colored corduroy jacket.
You probably won't need your fashion fabric until sometime in, I'm gonna say in October, late October, early November. Because we're going to be doing fitting, and that's usually where the issues come in. People overthink fit issues, so it takes a little bit longer to get through the fit part. But when I start talking about fit and what to do, I don't want you to overthink it. People really overthink fit issues, and it's literally just okay. Uh, it is like this without an inch. Okay, that works. Literally. It is that simple. So I don't want everybody to over. I mean, we FBA, sway backs, bicep adjustments. They sound big, but what you have to remember is that these adjustments target specific areas. So if your jacket fits, but the arms are too tight, then we only need to make an adjustment in the arm, not the rest of the jacket. We're not adding and subtracting and moving numbers and doing all of that stuff. We're literally just making it so this fits. We're making this piece bigger in this area so that it fits. We're making it bigger in this area so that it fits. We're making a little bit smaller in this area so that it fits. Which chapter to read this week? Read up on hand sewing. Read up on hand sewing.
Um, Another popular one is if people's shoulders lean forward. That's another
Mhm.
adjustment, but that's an easy one. Just moving the
Mhm.
seat.
It's raining. Yeah, so shoulder adjustments, yeah. Um, what does it say? I have the Reader's Digest. Is the tailoring process the same for dresses?
No,
No, it's not. Dresses don't require so much inside. Dresses only require fit.
unless it's couture and you're doing some other fancy stuff.
Yeah, if you're making a dress out of wool and you're adding this and you're adding that, and, you know, and then you're doing a whole bunch of hand sewing and bead adding, and that's a little bit different. But for a jacket, mm, some people add, beads and all of that stuff. You can definitely do that if you want to up your jacket. But once you get it together, then the beading will go on. The Once you get the insides all done, then you turn it over and then you start adding the beadings, and then the lining goes in. Because of course the beads and all of that stuff, you don't want the threads and stuff to show through. Or I saw a sweater at Kohl's yesterday
Mhm.
that I literally was carrying it around, and the sweater was 59.99, maybe 69.99. It was just a beautiful gray sweater with a zipper, and it was beaded. And then they had the boat neck sweaters with the pearls all over. And I walked around the store, and then I went and put that back.
You bought, do you already, because you already have a beater?
I got the whole kit.
That's hilarious.
I said, I ain't buying this. I ain't go home and do this. So I put it back.
Good for you.
All I
Hopefully
had to
you.
do, and if I really want to do it, all I got to do is buy the sweater. And then I had the plain sweater. I was like, I'm gonna go home and pearl the sweater. But I'm like, wait a minute, I got a blue sweater at home that I don't hardly wear. I can just pearl that one out. So I put that sweater back too.
There you
So yeah, and we buy all of that stuff and go to the store, and I'm like, I got that at home. So I, I
go.
put it away. I'm like, I don't need this extra stuff. Does anybody else have Power Sewing by Sandra Benzina? The Power Sewing book will be good if you're running into any fit issues. I actually have the Power Sewing book. There's a few things in there about jacket making, but Power Sewing, her book contains skirt information, pants, and that kind of thing. We won't need that. But there may be a few things in there that you could read about jackets. So if she has an area about any kind of jacketing, probably lining maybe, then you can read about that. Hopefully your jackets are lined. If you have, I don't recommend that you do a jacket without a lining and add a lining unless you know how. Because I'm not going to have time to teach that. This pattern has uh, pattern pieces for a lining. So try and find you a pattern that'll allow you to line the jacket and the pieces are included. So if you do have a jacket that's unlined and you are familiar with adding a lining and a facing or whatever it is required to line the jacket, then you can go ahead and you can do that. Then that way I'm not teaching that.
Mhm.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions while we're doing this Q&A?
Yes. And if this is like your first full jacket or it's your first jacket in a long time, I suggest you get a pattern that got all the bells and whistles that you want on your jacket versus trying to build something that's just going to add more of a learning
Right.
curve. So
A lot of
find
people were
one with the
talking about
lining.
the Jessica blazer. The Jessica blazer has everything. They even have a kit that you can buy that has all the innards. So if you want to look into the closet, I think it's Closet Core now, Closet Core Jessica blazer.
Yeah.
And I know the Jessica blazer runs, from what I understand, it runs a little big. So the fit issues will handle um, when we start doing the muslin. So the muslin is going to be first. After you do your measurements and get your pieces cut out or trace your pieces out, then we'll be doing muslin. So if you want to get the Jessica blazer, you can get the Jessica. Just find out. I know back in the day, a couple years ago, that blazer was hot and it was hard to buy it, and they kept running out. Just make sure that they have it in stock before you try and buy it. I have,
I think they have it download now, don't they?
yeah, but you might not want to tape together all the pieces. I don't know. I'm allergic to PDFs. They make me nervous. Ooh, every time I think about them, I've been traumatized. So
You can order from the Blue Cup shop and get them mailed to you already.
get
I
the
don't know if it
full
comes in
piece.
AO though, but I think it is in a PDF.
Let Laquana send you the full piece, so you can do AO and get the full piece.
Yeah.
But ooh, taping it together. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Okay.
Practice this. All right. Well, it looks like the questions are slowing down. So again, if you're not in the groups, get in the groups. Hit one of us up on Instagram or Facebook, wherever you can catch us. Make sure you're in those group chats. We'll be back Sunday. We'll post a flyer in numerous places so you won't miss it. So you know exact time what we're working on. In the meantime, do your homework, figure out your fit, figure out your pattern, grab some bed sheets or some muslin fabric, some markers, your rulers, some basic scissors so we can get started at least on the muslin and cutting out the pattern and stuff. So my IG is Shim So Creative. I'm the same on all platforms. One word.
And I'm Nancy 2001. ANNCIE 2001 on Instagram.
All
And
right. Oh, go
all
ahead.
right.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And we look forward to this blazer journey together.
All right, you guys.
Pattern
Um
number Vogue 1927. And what's the McCall one you've been holding up? I
McCall
have that
ones,
one too.
this one is 8350.
There you go. 8350. All right.